This man is a ruthless debt-collecting machine. His success rate in collecting debts is as high as 100%, and the reason he is so reliable is because he understands one thing: make people submit through rules. Just now, Kim Sang-in walked into a basement. The people in the basement saw him and immediately wondered, does this kid want to join too? But we're already full here. I'm not here to join. As he spoke, his gaze passed over the crowd and landed on Boss Hyo. I'm here to collect a debt. The men could only find it laughable. So young, his brain must be broken. What a pity. At that moment, Boss Hyo stepped forward. Haven't I always told you to be polite to guests? Then he gave Kim Sang-in an apologetic smile. Sorry, these brothers of mine never got an education. Kim Sang-in replied calmly. It's fine. So, have you prepared my money? If I remember correctly, today is the repayment date. Boss Hyo spoke while making a gesture as if taking out money. The principal was 100 million won, and I used it for 3 months, so the total is 109 million won. The next second, however, he pulled out an axe and placed it directly against Kim Sang-in's neck. Did I calculate that right? Kim Sang-in shook his head and coldly denied it. Wrong. The total is 109,272,701. We're old friends. Can't you waive the 270,000 won for me? Kim Sang-in still shook his head. Even though it's only 270,000 won, it's still money. You're the same as ever, truly ruthless. Then I won't be polite with you either. As soon as Boss Hyo finished speaking, he gripped the axe tightly and swung it down at Kim Sang-in. But Kim Sang-in dodged it with ease. You really are as shameless as the rumors say. After saying that, Kim Sang-in threw a punch at Boss Hyo, and the next moment, Boss Hyo collapsed straight to the floor. The lackeys around them changed expression on the spot. Do you know why, even though your reputation is so rotten, I still dared to lend you money? Because I was certain I could get my money back. At that moment, Boss Hyo's men began to stir. Boss Hyo shouted in fright, You idiots! Can't you see the axe in his hand? But before he could finish speaking, Kim Sang-in split open his shoulder with one blow, and a piercing scream instantly filled the basement. As if he hadn't heard it, Kim Sang-in remained cold and emotionless. I won't kill you. After saying that, he raised the axe again. Soon, Kim Sang-in returned to the studio. All 4 have been dealt with, including Boss Hyo. Boss, you're practically the god of loans, a ruthless debt-collecting machine. I've been in this line of work for so many years, and this is the first time I've seen someone whose debt collection success rate is still 100%. Kim Sang-in felt that this kid was talking more and more nonsense. Get me a clean shirt. The blood hasn't dried yet. If you send it to the laundry right away, it should still come out. The lackey beside him immediately nodded. At this moment, Kim Sang-in spoke again. Don't you think this kid should stop just running errands and start doing some real work? I've already arranged it, so don't worry, boss. I plan to give the rookie his first assignment tomorrow. As he spoke, he handed a file to Kim Sang-in. She came by while you were out. She's a young schoolteacher. One look at her and you can tell she's the naive type who applied for an emergency loan just to buy a designer bag. The lackey was so excited he could hardly contain himself. I finally get to go out and collect for once. Just then, Kim Sang-in turned and walked outside. Boss, where are you going? I already ordered takeout. Don't wait for me. There's somewhere else I need to go. Throwing out that sentence, Kim Sang-in left the studio directly. The 2 lackeys could only look at each other helplessly. Chief Kim really is just like you said, like a machine. You think I was joking? I suspect the boss really built a debt collection robot. I've worked with him for 3 years, and the only thing he cares about is the numbers on the books. What does he actually want? Meanwhile, on Kim Sang-in's side, this is the insurance money I got after my wife died. Please, have mercy, Chief Kim. Kim Sang-in listened, his eyes still cold. I came here only to get my money back. But every time, they beg me to be a little kinder, or beg me to save them. Thinking this, Kim Sang-in continued, You still have 28.3 million won left. I'll come again next week. With that, he turned and walked away. At that moment, he heard the man's curse filled with hatred. You'll rot in hell. You'll be tortured in hell for the rest of your life. Kim Sang-in replied coldly. I know. But even if I fall into hell, I will still get my money back. Soon, Kim Sang-in returned home. Ever since I was little, my father told me never to go into debt, but he himself couldn't withstand the massive debt and chose suicide. Every day, he knelt on the ground and bowed his head, begging for mercy. After my father died, they eventually fixed their eyes on me. At that time, I was only 15 and didn't even know about something called renouncing inheritance. Was I supposed to live that kind of life for the rest of my life too? So I made a decision. And so, I became the one who wielded the knife himself. Soon, time came to the next day. Why are you slacking off instead of going to collect payment? The lackey hurriedly explained that he wasn't slacking off. The chief said he would go in person. The scene shifted to the school. Kim Sang-in had already found the borrower, Kim Yin. The principal is 10 million won, and the interest is 3 million won. You have to pay it back right now. The moment Kim Ian saw who had come, her face instantly turned pale. At that moment, Kim Sang-in said again, "Never go into debt. This is the only lesson father left us." After hearing that, Kim Ian's face was full of difficulty. "Please, save me." At that moment, a student walked over. "Teacher Ian, I've collected everyone's homework. Should I put it on your desk?" As he spoke, he curiously looked toward Kim Sang-in. "Who is he? I don't think I've ever seen him before." Hearing this, Kim Ian immediately panicked. At this moment, Kim Sang-in spoke. "I'm a teacher from the school next door. I came here to participate in Seoulbit High School's teacher exchange program." Yi-jun nodded. "I see. See you later." After Yi-jun walked far away, Kim Ian finally let out a sigh of relief. "Thank you, Oppa." Kim Sang-in remained cold. "Meet me at the school gate after classes. I hope you can prepare 13 million won. Don't even think about running." Kim Ian opened her mouth as if to say something, but in the end swallowed it back down. "Have you lost your mind, Oppa? Did you forget so quickly how Dad died? He was driven into a dead end by people like them, and that's why he killed himself. But now you want to join them. You really have gone crazy. If you're going to live that kind of life, then don't ever appear in front of me again. I don't need trash like you to help me." Thinking of this, Kim Sang-in couldn't help sighing. He hadn't expected 10 years to pass so quickly. "So this is what you've come to, Kim Yin? She should appear by now, right?" At that moment, Kim Sang-in looked at his phone and suddenly froze. He saw that Kim Ian had sent him a message. The instant he read the contents, Kim Sang-in's whole body went rigid. The next moment, he rushed back into the school like a madman. At this time, a crowd had gathered outside a school building. Was that figure teacher Kim Ian? Kim Sang-in also arrived at that moment. Kim Ian had her eyes closed, showing no fear at all, already prepared to jump down. "I once thought that loan sharks were the most terrifying people in the world, but I was wrong. There are even more vicious demons in this world. They are the ones who drove me to borrow from loan sharks, and they were also the people I had always feared the most. I used to want so badly to be an upright teacher, but now I realize I was too naive back then and understood nothing. So this classroom was the real hell all along. I just want to escape them. Oh Pa, I'm sorry for calling you trash back then, and also, that day when I ran into you in the hallway, I almost burst into tears on the spot. When I realized that I would ultimately end up living as miserably as father did, a suffocating pressure crushed me so hard I could barely breathe. At that moment, I made my final decision. I'm tired of my life now. I don't want to be a lamb waiting to be slaughtered anymore. This time, let me decide for myself how I die, oh Pa." In his memories, Kim Sang-in hid behind a pillar, watching with his own eyes his father's misery and weakness, while his younger sister rubbed her eyes and came looking for him, and he could only stand there frozen, not daring to let her see the expression on his face at that moment. Kim Sang-in clutched his sister tightly, his voice trembling. "Don't look, Ian. I can't let you see this filth." Next, Kim Sang-in knelt before the debt collectors. In a mocking tone, they asked him why he was forcing himself into this state. Kim Sang-in was drenched in cold sweat, his throat tight. "If I can't repay this debt, my sister will be dragged into the abyss." Thinking of how his sister had ultimately still been dragged into that darkness, blood vessels surged in his eyes as he swore he would never let her suffer even the slightest harm again. And at this moment, Kim Sang-in's phone screen clearly showed, "Kim Yoon account 37121, plan transfer of 13 million won. Very soon. It was the next day. Father told him never to touch debt. Kim Sang-in felt like a fool. Only after seeing his sister fall from a tall building with his own eyes did he understand that he knew nothing of the hell in this world. So this classroom had long hidden a living hell, bullying, scheming, and a life being gnawed away bit by debt, spreading silently between the desks. Looking at the classmates laughing and fooling around in the classroom, he had once thought the phrase "the abyss of debt" was just something people said to scare others. "I'm very happy to meet all of you. Starting today, I will become your new teacher. My name is Kim Sang-in. These punks standing before me owe me a very large debt. Even if I fall into hell, I will take back what they owe me." Not long ago, Assemblyman Manchiel invited Kim Sang-in's boss, Chairman Hwang Byung-hyun, and the first thing he did was ask to borrow 10 billion won. Hwang Byung-hyun let out a light chuckle. "I was wondering why you brought me to such a nice place. Chairman Hwang, you must be joking. You know how hard it is to sit at the same table with you." At that moment, someone outside interrupted the assemblyman's conversation. Hwang Byung-hyun frowned and asked what had happened. After hearing the report from his subordinate, Hwang Byung-hyun's gaze darkened, and he signaled for the car to be prepared. "Leave immediately." The assemblyman asked in confusion, "Did something happen?" Hwang Byung-hyun said lightly, "Sorry, there's been a small matter at home. Let's meet again next time." Soon, Hwang Byung-hyun arrived at Kim Ian's funeral. Kim Sang-in had not expected that he would come specially for this. "Thank you so much for coming." Hwang Byung-hyun asked him. "No need to thank me, but after something like this, can you still eat?" The two came to a restaurant. "I thought that after you started following me, you had cut ties with your sister. Kim Sang-in explained calmly. Blood ties aren't something you can sever just because you say so. Wang Byung-hyan nodded. Then what about those bastards who tormented your sister? Kim Sang-in was silent for a moment before speaking. I will go see them in person. Wang Byung-hyan was startled, then nodded again. It seems they owe you a very big debt. At this moment, Kim Sang-in asked him if he could become a teacher. Wang Byung-hyan was stunned once more. Kim Sang-in explained, this is the most effective way I can think of to collect this debt. I will also continue to fulfill my original duties. Wang Byung-hyan smiled, as if he had thought of something that pleased him greatly. It's not hard to send someone into a school. I'll make the arrangements. Kim Sang-in immediately thanked him. Just then, Wang Byung-hyan's tone shifted. But I hope you remember one thing forever. This is also a debt you must repay to me. And so, Kim Sang-in became a teacher at Seoulbit High School. I'm Kim Sang-in, starting today. I'll be in charge of your class 3 to 2. I look forward to working with you. Although he still could not determine who it was, the person who drove Kim Ian to death was among them. At this moment, a student interrupted, saying that this teacher was way too handsome. Teacher, do you work out? That build is seriously unbelievable. Yi Jun, whom he had met before, also greeted Kim Sang-in. Alright then, enough small talk. Everyone get ready for the first class now. After saying that, Kim Sang-in turned and walked outside. The students were full of question marks. Is the teacher just leaving like this on the first class? At that moment, Kim Sang-in's steps stopped at the doorway. He turned back, his gaze sweeping across the entire class one by one. Do any of you know why teacher Kim Ian committed suicide? Yi Jun in the classroom was suddenly shocked when he heard this. Why is the new homeroom teacher asking this? Is he just curious? He even said before that he was a teacher from the school next door, that he only came to Seoulbit High School as an exchange teacher. Thinking this, Yi Jun let out a cold laugh. One is called Kim Ian, the other is called Kim Sang-in. Do they really think everyone is stupid? The scene shifted to the teacher's office. The moment he stepped inside, Kim Sang-in was warmly surrounded by the teachers. Some said that being able to take over this class was like winning the lottery. The students were so outstanding that there had hardly ever been any parental complaints. At this point, another teacher could not help asking out of curiosity. A teacher who had gotten along with the students so well, why had she ended up like that? The scene that day had been complete chaos, and many students who witnessed it with their own eyes were still undergoing psychological treatment even now. As Kim Sang-in listened, his mind was equally full of doubts. After spending several days with them, he could find almost no problems with Class 2. Class 3 to 2 was even regarded at school as a model class. On the surface, their relationship with Kim Ian also seemed flawless. He had even gone through all of Kim Ian's teaching records and class logs, yet he still could not find even the slightest trace of bullying. But if that were really the case, she would not have asked me for help. Who was it? Just then, a voice abruptly cut off his train of thought. Baek Soyeon, you bitch. Say that again if you've got the guts. Baek Soyeon spoke timidly. When you borrowed it, you said you'd pay it back within a week. But now, it's already been 2 months. When Kim Sang-in saw this girl, his pupils contracted. She seemed to have appeared at Kim Ian's funeral. At this moment, a delinquent sneered. You've really got nerve opening your mouth. The leader raised a hand to tell his lackey to shut up. There's nothing wrong with collecting a debt. After saying that, he looked at Baek Soyeon and put on a don't be afraid expression. I'll definitely pay you back. I lend you 500,000 won, right? Baek Soyeon nodded. But the next second, Park Daejeon slapped her across the face. You're really that petty? Aren't we classmates? You're turning against me over a mere 500,000 won? Baek Soyeon pleaded in a low voice, saying that she really needed the money right now. Then you stupid idiot shouldn't have lent it in the first place. Since you already did, stop nagging in my ear. When I'm in a good mood, I'll pay you back. Before the words had even faded, Park Daejeon's expression darkened, and he began sizing up Baek Soyeon without any attempt to hide it. Then the corner of his mouth twisted into a sinister smile. Do you really need money that badly? Baek Soyeon did not understand why he was suddenly asking that, but she still nodded. Since you're so short on money, come hang out with us tonight. I guarantee I'll pay you back when you get there. Baek Soyeon was shocked on the spot after hearing this. The lackey beside him jeered. Boss, do you have your eye on her? Shut up, you idiot. The scene shifted to nighttime, inside a convenience store. I've already given you 2 months' grace. The deposit has all been deducted, and there's not a single penny left. The man was full of anger. The woman looked apologetic. Please give us a little more time. Our money is gone. Baek Soyeon stood to the side in silence, her mind replaying over and over the moment that had left her full of regret that day. Sorry, Baek Soyeon, lend me another 500,000 won. I'll pay you back soon. But I really don't have that much money. What do you mean by that? Are you looking down on us? Right behind you is your mom's store. Your mom isn't here, so can't you help us out? It's all because of me that mom ended up trapped in this situation. Should I tell her the truth now? But even if I do, the lost money won't come back. At that moment, the sound of a ringing phone interrupted Baek Soyeon's thoughts. Park Dae-jeon sent her a message. Baek Soyeon froze. Was he going to repay the money? The next moment, Baek Soyeon fell completely silent. The scene shifted to the other side. Baek Soyeon also rushed there. The moment Park Dae-jeon saw her, his eyes lit up with excitement. I didn't think you'd really dare come. The next second, he invited her into the room. I guarantee you'll have a lot of fun tonight. Baek Soyeon suppressed her trembling. I'm not here to have fun. You said that if I came, you'd pay me back. At that moment, Park Dae-jeon's hand landed on Baek Soyeon's shoulder. Don't be so cold, Soyeon. Before you came, didn't you already know what you had to do to get the money? The next second, he yanked off her coat. When the lackeys beside him saw this, their expressions instantly changed. Let go of me. I only came to get my money back. Don't be nervous. I just think you're too hot. As Park Dae-jeon said this, he turned back and signaled for a lackey to bring over a water bottle. Let's play a water balloon game. Now, let's make Soyeon the water balloon goddess. The lackey raised the water bottle, making as if to splash it onto Baek Soyeon. But the expected icy cold never came down. Baek Soyeon opened her eyes in confusion, only to see that everyone had frozen in place, staring blankly toward the doorway. And standing in the doorway was Kim Sang-in. I'll only say this once. Let her go. Baek Soyeon trembled all over when she saw him. Isn't he the man from Senior Ian's funeral? Why is he here? You idiot. What gives you the right to order me around? Who the hell do you think you are? Who I am isn't important, but I advise you to let go. At this moment, one of the lackeys suddenly remembered. This man seemed to be the new homeroom teacher of Class 2 today. Hearing that, Park Dae-jeon shoved Baek Soyeon away. What is Teacher Kim doing here? Do you know her? Or are you her uncle? Or are you this bitch's boyfriend? The more he spoke, the more smug he became, letting out a cold laugh. You're actually dating a man this old? You really must be broke, huh? If that's the case, why not date me instead? But before he could finish speaking, Kim Sang-in landed a heavy punch on his face, and two of his front teeth flew out on the spot. The lackeys stared at the fallen Park Dae-jeon, their eyes bulging straight out. Boss just now got sent flying with one punch? Are we seeing things? Baek Soyeon was stunned as well. She remembered what Kim Sang-in had said to her that day at the funeral. You were the only one from Seolbit High School who came to see Ian off. Thank you. I won't forget this debt of gratitude. At this moment, Kim Sang-in turned his gaze toward those lackeys. You borrowed 500,000 won from Baek Soyeon. Since there was no IOU, we'll calculate the interest at 30% per week. The delinquents were dumbfounded. Is this guy crazy? What is he talking about? You're already 8 weeks overdue. Your debt is now 4,078,653 won. Hearing that number, Park Dae-jeon, who had been unconscious, suddenly woke up. What the hell are you talking about? Kim Sang-in's tone was icy. A debt must be repaid. That is the rule. I only borrowed 500,000 won. And you want me to pay back over 4 million? Is that reasonable? The moment Park Dae-jeon finished speaking, Kim Sang-in walked over to him. It is unreasonable. But from now on, what I say is the rule. Meanwhile, Kim Sung-in's lackeys were waiting outside in agitation. The crook-cut lackey frowned and asked, Hyo-young, why is the boss following those kids? Hyo-young, did you hear what I said? Hyo-young replied impatiently, the boss moves whenever he wants. Why do you care so much? You think the boss went in there to sing? That question left the lackey confused. If not, then what? You idiot. The boss has definitely set his sights on those kids. Doesn't matter who they are, once the boss has his eye on them, it's over. At this moment, Park Dae-jeon was trembling with rage. What the hell are you saying that from now on what you say is the law? I am Kim Sang-in, homeroom teacher of Class 3-2 at Seolbit High School. Baek Soyeon was startled. Class 3-2? Wasn't that Ian's class? You're a teacher, and you're actually extorting students? Kim Sang-in corrected him. I'm not extorting you. I'm handling debt between students. Correcting unhealthy financial relationships between students is also a teacher's duty. The students were dumbstruck. The correction you're talking about is using your fists? Then we'll correct you too. With that, several of them charged at Kim Sang-in together. I was only telling you to repay a debt, yet you rushed at me trying to beat me to death. The next second, he raised his hand and threw one punch at each of them. And in almost an instant, he knocked down all three of Park Dae-jeon's group. After withdrawing his hand, Kim Sang-in spoke coldly. I'll give you only one day. By 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, repay everything. As he spoke, he stepped on Park Dae-jeon's head. If by then you still dare refuse to pay, I guarantee you'll think even going to hell feels better. After doing all that, Kim Sang-in turned to look at Baek Soyeon. Why are you still standing there? Aren't you leaving? I want to leave with you, teacher, and also, thank you for saving me. If you have time to thank me, you'd be better off going home early. As she watched Kim Sang-in's departing figure, the more Baek Soyeon thought about it, the more something felt wrong. If I remember correctly, he is Yoon's brother. Did he save me because he said he wouldn't forget this debt of gratitude? and on top of that, he actually became a teacher at our school. Thinking of this, Baek Soyeon was suddenly startled. This was far too much of a coincidence. A thought instantly surfaced. You came to investigate what really happened to Ian, didn't you? Seeing Kim Sang-in pause in his steps, Baek Soyeon became even more certain. Then you shouldn't have helped me. I know them too well, they'll cling to you until the very end. At this moment, Park Dae-jeon shouted through gritted teeth from behind. I will absolutely not let you off. Kim Sang-in. Baek Soyeon turned pale with anxiety. If they go back and report this to the school committee, you'll be expelled when you return to school. Kim Sang-in, however, did not care at all. He had entered through his boss's connections in the first place. Time came to the next day. Baek Soyeon was on edge all day long, but strangely, nothing happened. Not only was teacher Kim not expelled, even Park Dae-jeon sat quietly in his seat and did not dare look at her even once. Just then, one of Park Dae-jeon's lackeys walked over to Baek Soyeon. Baek Soyeon's heart tightened. So he really did come to cause me trouble after all? But the next second, the other party said in a low voice, I've already transferred my share to you. The 4 million is split equally among the three of us. Tell that guy I've repaid my share. After saying that, he walked away without turning back, leaving Baek Soyeon standing there in confusion. Can someone tell me, what exactly is going on? Park Dae-jeon stared at this scene from behind, his face ashen, and quickly called back the delinquent who had just repaid the money. Park Dae-jeon gritted his teeth. Fine, getting hit once scared you into repaying, but you even only repaid your own share? Still don't get it? That guy is definitely not an ordinary person. After hearing that, Park Dae-jeon fell silent. It turned out that after Kim Sang-in left last night, they had intended to call the police and report him to the school committee, but instead received a file that made their scalps go numb. It not only contained all of their personal information, but even their social media account passwords, their friends' contact information, and their home addresses were all clearly listed. If we don't pay, who knows what that teacher will do? That bastard is definitely not normal. We picked the wrong person to mess with. Park Dae-jeon's face instantly stiffened. At this moment, another lackey added, he's right. If my dad finds out, I'm dead. Let's just pay the money back first. Even you're going to betray me? The lackey clenched his teeth. I don't want anything more to do with that teacher. If you don't want something to happen to you, hurry up and pay. Soon, the group returned to the classroom of class 3 to 6. Park Dae-jeon sat in his seat, completely depressed. What am I supposed to do? They've all repaid it, but I can't come up with the money at all. At that moment, Kim Sang-in walked up to Park Dae-jeon. You look very distracted. Let me remind you, it's almost 5 o'clock. Save those useless thoughts for when you get home. Park Dae-jeon had a ball of fury pent up in his chest, but after class he could only kick the trash can hard. He could not figure out who this teacher, who had suddenly appeared out of nowhere, really was, to have made him fall this badly. I bet you're this upset because of that new teacher, right? Park Dae-jeon was instantly startled. How do you know? I heard it from your friends. Since this morning, they've been borrowing money all over the school, so I casually asked about it. I have a way to keep you from having to repay the money. Want to hear it? The scene shifted to the sports field. Soon, Baek Soyeon also arrived. Kim Sang-in asked her, have you collected all the money? Baek Soyeon answered, except for Park Dae-jeon's, all the others are complete. Thanks to you, my mom can finally afford the shop rent. I'll return the part that exceeds the original amount. Thank you so much, Teacher Kim. Kim Sang-in, however, shook his head. No need to thank me. I merely repaid the debt I owed. And besides, there is still one debt that hasn't been repaid. After saying that, he cast his gaze to the side. At that moment, Park Dae-jeon also walked over. I assume you brought the money. Instead of responding with fear, Park Dae-jeon laughed. Do I look like I came here to repay money? The reason Park Dae-jeon was so confident was because Eome Jun had given him an idea. Since the teacher can use your personal information to pressure you, then why can't you use his personal information to pressure him in return? As it happens, I know a little something about Mr. Kim Sang-in. Thinking of this, Park Dae-jeon felt even more emboldened. I'm here to make a deal with you. Cancel my debt, and I'll tell you why Teacher Kim Ian jumped off the building. That's an enticing deal, isn't it? After hearing that, Kim Sang-in's expression remained cold. By now, it's already past 5 o'clock. Park Dae-jeon was instantly shocked. I told you I wanted to make a deal. Why are you still walking toward me? Kim Sang-in advanced on Park Dae-jeon step by step, and Park Dae-jeon began to panic. I really can tell you why Teacher Kim Ian jumped off the building. But before he could finish, Kim Sang-in grabbed him by the throat. I think I already warned you. If you fail to repay the debt before 5, I would make you feel that even going to hell would be easier. Fortunately, at the last moment, Baek Soyeon spoke up to stop him, and only then did Kim Sang-in let go. Don't be in such a hurry to beg for mercy. I haven't even started yet. By the time Park Dae-jeon came back to his senses, he was the only one left at the scene. Although I don't know why that teacher just left like that, but he's too overbearing. Is he going to call my family and force them to repay for me? Thinking of this, Park Dae-jeon actually relaxed, because his mother had long since left, and his father stayed overseas all year round. At that moment, a van stopped beside him. The next second, someone covered his mouth and nose from behind, and the suffocating sensation rushed straight into his brain. Very soon, he lost consciousness. And so, who knows how much time passed. Suddenly, he was awakened by a basin of cold water thrown over him. Park Dae-jeon looked around blankly, then stared warily at the man in front of him. The man's face was expressionless. You'll work here until you've paid off your debt. Park Dae-jeon was both furious and confused. What are you talking about? Where the hell is this? The next second, he was completely terrified. Why am I on a boat? And so, Park Dae-jeon became a deckhand on the boat. At first, he absolutely refused to accept it and shouted that he wanted to get off. But this captain was also very good at reasoning. You only have two ways to get off this boat. First, work like your life depends on it and pay off your debt. Park Dae-jeon gritted his teeth and asked, then what's the second? Second, these senior hands beat you half to death, and then you keep working to pay off your debt. So Park Dae-jeon became an utterly inexperienced deckhand. Though fortunately, the senior workers lovingly taught him everything by hand. By the fourth day, he was already able to sort fishing nets by himself. Time passed slowly and brutally out at sea. Until today, he finally returned to campus. Every passing student was startled, as if they had seen a zombie. Finally freed, Park Dae-jeon swore in his heart that he would never borrow money again for the rest of his life. He never wanted to go back to that boat. You still have to go back to that boat next week. Park Dae-jeon was both angry and suspicious. What kind of bullshit are you talking about? Didn't I work on that boat for 10 days and pay off the debt? Kim Sang-in said flatly, your debt still isn't paid off. By the day you boarded the boat, you were already overdue. Adding the interest generated during these 10 days on the boat, the total is now 2.5 million won. The daily wage on the boat is 170,000 won. But you're an apprentice, so I can only give you 100,000. After deducting a 30,000 won brokerage fee, you get 70,000 a day. In 10 days, you repaid a total of 700,000, so you still owe 1.8 million won. Park Dae-jeon exploded on the spot. This is a violation of human rights. I only borrowed 500,000 won, and you want me to pay back 2.5 million? Kim Sang-in's face instantly turned cold. I even found you a job so you could repay your debt. Fine if you don't thank me, but now you want to default too? If it weren't for that job, your interest would only keep snowballing. If you understand that, get ready. We leave in 4 days. I'll count it as your field training, so you don't need to worry about attendance. Park Dae-jeon's heart sank. I have to go back on the boat? Night came quickly. A subordinate walked up to Kim Sang-in holding an investigation report. There are too many people to check. So far, we've only completed investigations on 10 trainees. Kim Sang-in asked, anything unusual? The lackey shook his head and said they had found absolutely nothing unusual. Their records are absurdly clean. As far as these 10 go, they're all model students. Kim Sang-in confirmed. Checked in student number order? The subordinate nodded. Then the next one is EOME June. Just then, Kim Sang-in's phone rang. After reading the message, Kim Sang-in looked up at his subordinate. You can get off work early today. There's something I need to handle personally. The scene shifted. Not wanting to go back to the fishing boat, Park Dae-jeon was making one last desperate struggle. He told EOME June everything that had happened to him. You screwed me over so badly. Hurry up and think of a way to save me. You've already screwed over a teacher before. EOME June's face darkened instantly, and his tone turned hard with coldness. I'll help you. Last time I was only testing him. This time I'll be serious. You may not know this yet, that teacher is Kim Ian's brother. Park Dae-jeon was startled. Wouldn't that make it even more troublesome? Don't panic. Just do as I say and lure him to the place I've arranged. Soon, Kim Sang-in also arrived at the agreed location. You said you brought the money? Park Dae-jeon waved his hand impatiently. Stop talking about money already. What, do you think you're some loan shark? I don't have any money. Kim Sang-in had not expected that even after suffering this much, he would still dare act so arrogantly, and immediately looked around warily. Only then did he see that several thugs were already standing around at some unknown point. So this is where your confidence comes from? Park Dae-jeon sneered. Still haven't understood your situation? Agree to my 2 conditions, and I'll let you go. First, erase my debt. Second, get the hell out of this school immediately. Kim Sang-in let out a low laugh instead. You couldn't come up with a plan like this. Tell me, who taught you? As he spoke, he walked toward Park Dae-jeon. Panicking, Park Dae-jeon quickly ordered those men to surround Kim Sang-in. Kim Sang-in did not even raise an eyelid. Suddenly, someone attacked from behind. As if he had eyes on the back of his head, Kim Sang-in sidestepped the blow, then threw a punch and sent the man flying. That familiar scene left Park Dae-jeon completely dumbfounded. At that moment, Kim Sang-in's emotionless voice pressed down beside his ear. I'll ask you one last time. Who planned this? The others were all shocked by Kim Sang-in's speed and strength, but they refused to believe it. No matter how strong he was still only one man. The man in the lead roared for everyone to attack together while he looked for a chance to strike a fatal blow. Kim Sang-in merely swept a cold glance over him, and the next second, the place rang out with a chorus of tearing screams. Kim Sang-in dropped them one by one with a single punch each, beating them until they lost the ability to resist. One thug shouted, "Good chance." It really was a good chance, but not for them. Kim Sang-in grabbed the man's throat, then hurled him away, smashing him through the glass behind him. The leader completely panicked, and hurriedly called for the remaining men to charge together. But in the next moment, a teddy bear suddenly appeared before his eyes, blocking his view. Immediately after that, Kim Sang-in's iron fist shot out from behind the teddy bear. The leader was sent flying by one punch, and everyone present was stunned speechless, while Park Dae-jeon was dragged back into fearful memories. Back then, when I took one punch from him and didn't pass out, was I just tough, or was he holding back? Did I pick the wrong person to mess with this time? In the blink of an eye, Kim Sang-in had already dealt with everyone except Park Dae-jeon. Park Dae-jeon felt cold all over. After all his years running with delinquents, he understood very clearly, if he got caught, he was finished. He suddenly turned and ran for his life. But he was so panicked that his legs gave out, and he tripped and fell flat on level ground. I have to get up. If I don't get up, I'll end up just like them. Fear forced him back to his feet, and he charged forward once again like a madman. Kim Sang-in could not understand why he was running. If running could solve problems, then what would debt collectors even be for? Meanwhile, on Park Dae-jeon's side, after confirming that Kim Sang-in had not chased after him, Park Dae-jeon immediately called Eom Jun to report the situation. But on the other end of the line, Eom Jun said in a completely emotionless voice, "Transfer me 5 million won." Park Dae-jeon thought he had heard wrong. "You mean, you'll give me 5 million won so I can repay the debt?" Eom Jun replied, "You heard correctly. You owe me 5 million won. That's the cost of hiring those men." Park Dae-jeon was dumbfounded. "Didn't you say you'd help me? But I never said it would be free. You bastard. It's because of debt that I've already ended up like this. Where am I supposed to get 5 million won for you?" Eom Jun said lightly, "That's not your concern." As soon as he said that, several men walked up to Park Dae-jeon. "From now on, you owe us. Be good and come with us." Park Dae-jeon hurriedly asked Eom Jun what these people meant. Eom Jun said, "I was afraid you wouldn't be able to repay, so I sold your debt to them. Don't worry, they'll introduce you to a good job. And by the way, daily interest, 45%. After saying that, Eom Jun hung up. "At first I only wanted to test Kim Sang-in, but I didn't expect it to turn out like this. One person can beat more than 20, next time I'll have to find more people." The thug leader who had been knocked unconscious by a punch slowly woke up. No matter how he thought about it, he still couldn't believe it. That man dressed like a proper teacher, but his body was like a beast's, and with a single punch he had knocked out an old thug like him who had been running the streets for 30 years. At that moment, the captain of Team T also arrived at the scene. The man was instantly shocked when he saw the captain and asked how he had ended up here. A qualified captain always knows where his team members are at any time. Isn't that normal? The captain glanced around the scene. "But you lot are in a miserable state. Go on, tell me what happened here." The man explained, "Some brat from Seoulbit High School asked us to deal with a teacher. We thought it was an easy side job, but that teacher was basically a beast." The captain asked how much they had been paid this time. The man stammered, 5 million. The captain's face turned ugly to the extreme. "For that little money, you took on this kind of humiliating job and got beaten into this state by a teacher?" The man still wanted to emphasize how outrageous that teacher was. But before he could speak, the captain smashed him with a hammer. "You were carrying the name of good capital, yet you got taken down by a teacher. If word of this gets out, can you bear the responsibility? Tell me, what's that bastard's name? I'll go meet him myself." Then the captain heard Kim Sang-in's name from the man. The moment he heard that name, the captain froze. Then, instead, he laughed, as if he had finally figured something out. "So it was him, then your loss wasn't unjust." Soon, Kim Sang-in returned to the office. He had not expected his subordinate to still be there at this hour. The subordinate scratched his head awkwardly and said that now he was still not even skilled at debt collection. So at the very least he wanted to help the captain more with paperwork and try to become someone like the boss as soon as possible. Kim Sang-in did not understand what was worth becoming in someone like him. The subordinate immediately grew excited. "Captain, you're the #1 debt collector in the whole country. You're my role model." Kim Sang-in's tone was calm, but it cut like a blade. "That kind of identity is trash. People like us care only about money, and can even climb upward by stepping on other people's lives. The evil ghosts who drag desperate people into the abyss are trash who deserve to go to hell even after death. You still want to become someone like me?" The subordinate fell silent, not understanding why the captain was suddenly saying this. "I know what we do isn't honorable. But I don't think you're trash, Captain. The old man said that for your sister, you gave up your own life, that for your sister you walked into the abyss yourself. If even you call yourself trash, then I'm willing to be trash too. Of course, I don't mean that you're trash, Captain. Suit yourself, Kim Sang-in said lightly. Monet, starting tomorrow you'll collect debts on your own, 10% commission. But you have to promise me one thing, as soon as you've repaid the money you borrowed for the surgery, leave this line of work. Monet nodded and said that when that day came, he would definitely fight with everything he had to leave. After dealing with Monet, Kim Sang-in thought back again to what had happened today. The reason he had kept pressing Park Dae-jeon about who was behind all this was because Park Dae-jeon simply had no money to hire those men. And the person behind him wasn't after money either. They wanted to use Park Dae-jeon to test me. There is only one purpose, force me to leave the school and stop me from continuing to investigate Kim Ian's death. Since they're in such a hurry, then I don't need to go looking for them first. The closer I get to the truth, the more panicked they'll become. In the end, they will definitely reveal their true faces. Meanwhile, back at the office, Monet was so excited that he could not sit still. He had finally made it. What should he wear when he went out to collect debts in the future? It had to be impressive enough, fierce enough. The next second, the image of a man appeared in his mind. If he wanted to look the most imposing and the toughest, there was only one way: wear the same glasses as the captain. If you don't repay, I'll make you pay the price. But before he could finish, Monet suddenly froze. Captain, did you forget to put on your tie? At that moment, the silhouette of a man appeared at the entrance to the office. Captain, did you come back to get your tie? Why didn't you call me to bring it over? But before he could finish speaking, Monet lost consciousness. Soon, Kim Sang-in also arrived at the office entrance. At that very moment, a sense of foreboding crept up from the bottom of his heart. He pushed the door open, and the first thing he saw was Monet covered in blood, slumped by the entrance. Kim Sang-in's pupils shrank. Only after confirming there was still a pulse did he suppress that breath. Judging from the wounds, these were neither knife wounds nor injuries caused by bare hands. Just then, a man launched a surprise attack from the side. But Kim Sang-in blocked it with ease. As expected, it's you, Captain Choi Ochil. You still like carrying that tetanus hammer around everywhere. But this time, you attacked my employee for no reason. Now this is a matter between two companies. Choi Ochil, however, shook his head and said it was not for no reason. You were the one who beat my people down at the arcade. Kim Sang-in had not expected those people to belong to good capital. The old man had once solemnly warned him, never drag the company into personal grudges. It seemed the trouble had grown bigger. Looking at your expression, you must understand now, right? I rushed all the way here with only one thing on my mind, beating the hell out of you. After all, many years have passed since then. My hands have really been itching. He was Kim Sang-in's former captain, with a vicious gaze like he could tear out someone's throat at any moment. Back then, Kim Sang-in had received no shortage of his instruction. People who lend it usually recognize only one rule. By any means necessary, make the debtor spit out the money. Understand? Just like you. You desperately repaid your father's debt because you didn't want to die, right? No, you're different. You didn't want your sister to die, right? He stared at Kim Sang-in's gritted expression and smiled with cruel excitement. What, unhappy with my rookie training? Then let's start by breaking one of your ribs so you can learn the rules. By now, Choi Ochil's face was full of mockery. Even a brat like Kim Sang-in dared to wear a captain's badge now. Roaring, he charged forward. Let me see how much you've improved. Kim Sang-in almost instinctively tilted his head aside, and the gust exploded past his ear. Choi Ochil sneered. Your speed has improved quite a bit. The hammer head swept across again and again with the sound of splitting air, but each time Kim Sang-in narrowly avoided it. Choi Ochil kicked at him, and Kim Sang-in gritted his teeth and blocked it. Kid, you've improved a lot. Kim Sang-in tightened his fingers. Let's make this clear. Your people struck first, and you beat my subordinate unconscious. So, I refuse to apologize. The veins at Choi Ochil's temple bulged. Yeah, you always say I refuse at every turn, like it's your catchphrase. That's exactly why I hate you most. Murderous intent came at him wrapped in a violent gust, and Kim Sang-in turned sideways to avoid the savage strike. There's an opening. Kim Sang-in lowered his center of gravity, preparing to end it in one blow. But the next second, the hammer came crashing down, and a dull collision exploded in the air. Kim Sang-in forcibly blocked that hammer strike. Then he immediately grabbed the other man's wrist with a backhand motion. You lost. The next moment, Kim Sang-in threw his punch down. Choi Ochil had once forced Kim Sang-in to kidnap a debtor's child, and Kim Sang-in had no choice but to do it. Choi Ochil had also ordered him to burn down shops, dragging even more people into the abyss of debt, and Kim Sang-in had been powerless. He had watched Choi Ochil enjoy other people's despair and endured it for far too long. And now, he only wanted to defeat this man completely. The man who had once trampled Kim Sang-in underfoot, the brat he had personally trained, was now standing over his head. Choyochio laughed like a madman. So you think you're different from me? Bullshit. We're both the filthiest trash in this world. Yes, I am trash, but I have never enjoyed this violence and filth. Kim Sang-in did not want to prove himself by killing Choyochio. Not killing me? Then you're really a failure. Right now, all Kim Sang-in wanted was to send his subordinate to the hospital for emergency treatment. On the hospital bed, the lackey had bandages wrapped around his head. He jolted awake, and Kim Sang-in told him to rest and recover. Kim Sang-in said that the attacker was the captain he had when he first entered this line of work. And at first he had thought this was a purge aimed at the organization, but the target had been only him. The lackey hesitated and said that while organizing the school students' files, he had found someone very suspicious, someone likely connected to this attack. The scene shifted, and Kim Sang-in arrived at the memorial park. He stood before rows of ash niches, silently gazing at Kim Yoon's photograph. At that moment, Baek So-yeon also came to pay respects to Kim Yoon, and Kim Sang-in asked her whether Park Dae-jeon's debt had been fully repaid yet. Baek So-yeon said it had not. To be honest, I kind of wonder whether taking this much is going too far. Kim Sang-in coldly cut her off, saying that interest was a risk premium and also the price of tying up capital. He turned and left, leaving behind an even colder conclusion: interest is not greed, it is compensation for pain. Kim Sang-in told her that if she changed her mind, she could come find him anytime, and he would handle the debt collection for her. He stepped onto the stairs, his footsteps echoing through the empty building. The hunt has begun. It's time to seriously drag out those trash who owe their debts, one by one. That one boy was the debtor Kim Sang-in was looking for, the one who should repay his debt. The scene shifted, and Kim Sang-in was assessing the class monitor's mental state. In a calm tone, Kim Sang-in asked how he felt about the previous teacher jumping from the building. The class monitor said that the first few days had indeed been hard, but now he was fine. That's strange. No one sees that much blood and stays this calm. Kim Sang-in coldly added, all the witnesses were undergoing psychological treatment, and you are the only exception. The class monitor smiled and asked the teacher to write in the record. Though struggling, he is still persevering, saying, I am sad too. It's fine, Kim Sang-in said. You've already made it onto my list of suspects. The class monitor understood. This man had come for him. I'm looking for the murderer too, so if... The class monitor grabbed the teacher's hand, crying as he pleaded. Even if you suspect me, that's fine. I only ask that you catch the murderer no matter what. In the end, the class monitor bowed respectfully and said goodbye to the teacher. We'll have many opportunities to work together in the future. Student Eom Ijun. Eom Ijun turned around and replied in the most polite tone. Until next time. Everyone said it had been a horrible, unbearable scene, but only Eom Ijun knew. It had not been like that at all. Everyone had been screaming and running in panic, but he alone had stood calmly before the pool of blood. The cries and pleas for help felt as though separated from him by a pane of glass. He only watched everything happen with cold eyes. He remembered that day's scene with perfect clarity. Everyone was fleeing in fear, yet he alone calmly watched that dark figure draw near. Looking at the teacher's expression of despair, that so-called tragic scene was almost like the ultimate pleasure, wasn't it? Your acting is too fake, student Eom Ijun. That hand of yours that looked like it was pleading did not tremble even once. You weren't sincere. A truly desperate hand, a hand truly asking for help, would never look like that. I will never forget that kind of panic and pain for the rest of my life. No matter how deeply you hide, I will tear off your mask with my own hands. I won't let a single demon in this classroom go. In my own way, I will drag them into hell one by one. At that moment, the students in the front row were discussing a girl who made money from live streaming. Did you hear? A girl in the next class actually uses Ian as her live stream name. That's insane. Some thought using a dead person's name was creepy, while others cared only about traffic and money and did not mind at all. That girl is obviously using that name on purpose to attract attention and make filthy money. They spoke the girl's name, Homeroom, in front of the camera. Homeroom smiled sweetly in thanks, enjoying the donations and cheers. She promised the viewers that she would work harder and reward everyone with even more dedicated performances. The people in the live stream were crazy about her, praising her as the core of the channel and the one who carried the atmosphere. Even the boss told the others to learn from her. Large donations flooded the screen non-stop, while the sugar daddies boasting and the audience's jeering pushed the atmosphere to its peak. Homeroom pretended to be pleasantly surprised, thanking them over and over in the sweetest tone as she harvested every bit of money. When the donor made a request, she immediately complied and began dancing even more provocatively. You're streaming again tonight? No wonder you're always sleeping in class. Sooner or later, something's going to happen to you. Boss, you like watching pretty girls' live streams too? Me too. You know about it too? Recommend some to me. He told Kim Sang-in that bottom-tier streamers on that kind of platform could barely make any money at all and would just be trampled like ants. Even someone like him, who lent it usury, found that kind of exploitation disgusting. As long as the donations were high enough, the female streamers would obey the donors completely. I'm going to buy her answer with money. Kim sang and stared at the screen, tapping with his fingertips, preparing to spend heavily. He directly threw money at the stream and demanded that Hong Ariam answer his question. She joked with a smile, no performance needed, just a question, yet she still accepted the money. Kim sang and got straight to the point. What does the name Ian mean? She put on a shy act. That's a secret. Hong Ariam lied casually, saying that Ian was just the name of a doll she had when she was little. There was no special meaning to the name, except that the doll was broken now. Turning Kim Ian's death into a story about a broken doll? And you can still stay this composed? Hong Ariam. Now it's your turn to go to hell. I will make you repay with your life. The beginning of the story goes back to Seoulbit High School 1 month earlier. The first time Lee Haeyeon saw Hong Ariam, her gaze was locked onto the bag on Ariam's desk. That outrageously expensive luxury item left Lee Haeyeon rooted to the spot. The exquisite quilted pattern and the cold gleam of the metal hardware. It was a limited edition. Hong Ariam casually asked in return, "Do you want a bag like this too?" Lee Haeyeon could not help pressing further, asking where such an expensive bag had come from. Hong Ariam smiled and said she had bought it through part-time work. At that moment, Lee Haeyeon was completely tempted and immediately asked what that high-paying job was. Looking at Ariam's meaningful gaze, Lee Haeyeon still had not realized. It was already too late, and she had stepped into a trap with no way back out. Only later did she understand that when she asked, "Can you introduce me?" it became the request she would regret most for the rest of her life. At first, Hong Ariam only said that it was just ordinary live streaming on a social platform. Ariam dressed Lee Haeyeon up from head to toe and pushed her onto the stage. The women on the stage were scantily dressed and moving suggestively, and Lee Haeyeon felt a chill rise faintly in her heart. Ariam stood at the side urging non-stop, "Smile, keep smiling." This so-called ranking live stream was, in essence, explicit performances in exchange for donations. For the sake of money and rankings, everyone in front of the camera became more shameless and more unrestrained. At that moment, Lee Haeyeon finally understood. She was not suited for this line of work at all. The moment the stream ended, the boss immediately started scolding her for being stiff and awkward. Those words stabbed into her heart like needles, and she did not even dare argue back. Only because of Ariam's face did the boss reluctantly give her an appearance fee. Lee Haeyeon stared at her phone, not daring to imagine how much she could possibly get. Then 1 million won was deposited into her account. Could money really be earned this easily? Lee Haeyeon began to doubt herself. Until that day, when she accidentally saw Hong Ariam's true face. Who is Ian? That single question made Lee Haeyeon go cold all over in an instant. She was just a doll I used to have, but now it's broken. Ariam's word doll stabbed through every disguise like a knife. Lee Haeyeon suddenly remembered. Ariam's stage name was actually the same as the teacher's name. This was no coincidence at all. She finally realized that she herself was step by step becoming Ariam's next toy. She wanted out. "Ariam, I don't want to do this anymore." Hong Ariam replied coldly, "Haeyeon, you can't leave. From the moment you stepped in here, you were already in debt. Why do you want to leave? Have I ever treated you badly?" Lee Haeyeon saw through it. Ariam was only controlling her. This business was filthy to the core. "To hell with you. I helped you make money, and you still dare talk like that? Listen carefully. As long as you're here, you're the one at the bottom for me. Only those at the bottom go into debt. The ones at the top are the ones who get money to spend. Understand?" As usual, the boss began enthusiastically. "Next up, please welcome Ian." Then Ariam said one sentence that made Lee Haeyeon's mind go blank on the spot. Whoever gave the most donations could have a meal with this newcomer. The live stream room instantly exploded, donations flooding in madly, while Lee Haeyeon was nothing more than merchandise being bid on. Afterward, Ariam explained casually that it was just having a meal with a fan. "I don't want to eat with them. This was all you're doing. Stop making noise. Eating one meal won't kill you." Lee Haeyeon stood there blankly, but then a man appeared behind her. The moment he called out her name, every hair on her body stood on end. This was the winner who had spent a huge amount for the dinner date, and he disgusted her so much it made her sick. "Sorry, I don't plan to eat with you. I'm leaving first." The man said he had taken out loans and stolen his mother's money just to meet her. He called her a liar and said he would report the whole platform and force her to pay the money back. But Lee Haeyeon hated this platform and everyone on it to the bone. Lee Haeyeon went to find Ariam and said she had to leave and would never come back. Hong Ariam stopped her. "Where do you think you're going? You still owe the company money." From the day she entered, she had effectively been redeeming herself. Leaving meant breach of contract and taking on even greater debt. Ariam grabbed Lee Haeyeon's hair and forcibly made her go to that disgusting dinner. She said that someone like Lee Haeyeon was fit for this kind of dirty work, to support the company. After saying that, she threw Lee Haeyeon aside and turned to leave. "You can't escape from my grasp." Two company managers walked over. It was Ariam who had called them over to deal with her. They told Lee Hyeon to get back to the live stream room, saying there were still lots of people waiting to donate. Then they reached out to drag her away, and she struggled desperately. "Could you two let go? Let go of that girl," I said. "Let her go." The next second, Kim Sang-in's iron fist smashed into the man's jaw. The other man charged forward, and Kim Sang-in smashed another punch into his jaw as well, instantly sending the man's head spinning, and he dropped to the ground on the spot after staggering around. Lee Hyeon could not believe it. Why was her homeroom teacher this strong? "Your name is Lee Hyeon, right? I have a lot of questions to ask you." Night pressed down over the entire city, and the lights beneath the bridge flickered on and off. "I want you to tell me the whole truth, everything that happened in the past." He went straight to the most crucial question. "What exactly did Hong Arim do to my sister?" Lee Hyeon's hesitation was impossible to hide, and Kim Sang-in saw through it at a glance. She was deeply entangled with Hong Arim. Kim Sang-in did not force her. He simply turned to leave, handing the choice to her through silence. She lowered her head and said nothing, but the balance in her heart began to tilt. At last, she spoke. The beginning of everything went back to the first day of school. Everyone thought Kim Ian was the perfect model teacher, always wearing a gentle smile every day. She took the initiative to close the distance with the students and treated them in an approachable way, but the students did not buy it. Hong Arim, however, easily won over the whole class with money and vanity. The favors she casually threw around made everyone willingly revolve around her and become her puppets. No one could resist that temptation, and the whole class became her private garden. Kim Yoon and she had always remained at peace with each other, and Kim Yoon had even repeatedly tolerated her lateness. But no one expected the nightmare to begin with the cleaning duty that day. Kim Yoon told Hong Arim to mop the floor during duty time. This was a class task. Hong Arim looked full of disdain. "I have money, I'll have someone else do it." A classmate beside her immediately said, "Just pay me and I'll sweep." Using wealth in class, she gave Kim Yoon the cruelest lesson. People did not even live in the same world. Kim Ian stopped Hong Arim and did not indulge her. "Don't use money to excuse your selfishness. Society may recognize only money, but school is not your playground. Responsibility, cooperation, consideration, those things can't be bought with money." She shoved the broom into Hong Arim's hands and watched her until she finished the task herself. Hong Arim's eyes turned cold, and the seed of revenge sprouted at that moment. 2 days later, Hong Arim stormed into the office and made a huge scene. Her limited edition bag had gone missing, and she broke down on the spot, pointing suspicion at everyone. The entire class instantly exploded, doubting one another and turning suspicious of one another. She hysterically shouted that she would turn the whole school upside down. The teachers had no way to deal with her anymore and were forced to launch this absurd search. The entire school was searched from top to bottom, and not even the corners were spared, all for one bag. Every student felt in danger, and no one knew who would be the one to fall in the end. But the next second, Kim Ian froze completely. That missing bag was right there in the drawer of her desk. All eyes instantly pinned themselves on her, and the voices of doubt drowned her like a tide. And all of this was exactly what Hong Arim wanted. In front of everyone, she directly slapped the label of thief onto Kim Ian. Kim Ian was completely stunned. She never imagined she would be forced to apologize for something she had never done. What chilled her even more was that instead of protecting her, the school pressured her to bow her head without any evidence. They threatened her future and forced her to swallow the humiliation. That so-called reputation was nothing more than a shield to protect the school leadership's face. Every word from the administrators pushed her farther into the abyss and completely bound her hands and feet. At that moment, Kim Ian finally understood. From the very beginning, she had never had a choice. She could only go to Hong Arim, but the other's attitude was even more arrogant. Hong Arim refused to settle it in private. She forced Kim Ian to apologize publicly in the classroom, to humiliate her in front of the entire class. The students kept whispering, and everyone had already accepted that the teacher was a thief. Kim Ian completely broke down and could only bow her head to Hong Arim. In humiliation, she knelt down and apologized for something she had never done. That sentence, "I'm sorry," became the final straw that crushed her, and also Hong Arim's proudest trophy. Hong Arim showed a savage smile. She had won, and won completely. From that day on, the label thief teacher was nailed onto Kim Ian, and wherever she went, people pointed and whispered. Everyone looked at her strangely, and respect and trust collapsed overnight. But at that moment, Lee Hyeon saw the truth. With her own eyes, she saw that it was Hong Arim who personally handed the bag to the teacher. It was a planted frame-up staged by herself. Kim Sang-in fell silent. So from the very beginning, this had been a malicious act of revenge against his sister. Lee Hyeon was filled with guilt. She regretted not stepping forward then and could only watch helplessly as Kim Ian's pride was shattered underfoot, and the words pride stabbed into Kim Sang-in's heart like a knife, and also nailed down his sister's entire life like a spike. The memory went back even earlier. Lying on the rooftop, Kim Ian once told Kim Sang-in that she wanted to live honorably and without reproach. Kim Sang-in did not understand, but Kim Ian's eyes were resolute. If she wanted to be a teacher, she had to protect her dignity. Word by word, she promised that no matter what happened, she would live openly and uprightly. What she wanted was to stand proudly before her students and be someone worthy of the word teacher. But reality dealt her the heaviest blow. While trying to protect her dignity, she was instead humiliated beyond recognition. That scene of kneeling in public became a scar she could never erase in her lifetime, and also the cruelest proof of this tragedy. Something in Kim Ian's heart, even more important than pride, shattered completely. Kim Sang-in felt a storm of mixed emotions inside. But one thing was clear, Hong Ah-reum would pay the price for her stupidity. He looked at the guilt-ridden Lee Ha-yeon. If you want redemption, then help me. Debt collection began at this moment. A reckoning aimed at Hong Ah-reum had officially begun. The scene shifted. The live stream was about to begin, and everyone was standing by. Hong Ah-reum was still arrogantly complaining. Why had that girl she bullied not shown up yet? She had no idea at all. Her malice had already drawn disaster onto herself. In her eyes, other people's pain was just entertainment, just toys. Lee Ha-yeon suddenly appeared and publicly apologized, immediately throwing off Hong Ah-reum's rhythm. A male hanger-on cursed and threw out threats, warning that if that girl missed again, she would be dead. Hong Ah-reum kept speaking in a mocking tone, sneering that the other girl was finally serious about fighting for first place. Lee Ha-yeon tied up her hair. I came back for first place. Elsewhere, a boss was publicly scolding a subordinate. The female subordinate had been at the bottom of the point rankings the whole time and could only lower her head, swallowing all the humiliation. After ranking last for 3 straight weeks, she had become everyone's joke, and even her explanations could only turn into humble apologies. Her co-workers' mockery was like blades of ice, each sentence crueler than the last. The boss's questioning came crashing down, telling her not to stream today so she would not drag down the platform's revenue. The woman left in disgrace, leaving behind only cold laughter and indifference. Hong Ah-reum mocked her aloud. You finally crawled home, you last place bitch. The boss told everyone to bring out the most excited energy they had and start today's money-grabbing live stream. It opened with a hot dance, instantly exploding the atmosphere, and the wallets of those donating men were emptied bit by bit. Hong Ah-reum made a heart toward the camera and greeted them in a cooingly sweet voice. But when one figure appeared, the smile on Hong Ah-reum's face froze instantly, leaving only shock. That Lee Ha-yeon who had once ranked last had actually returned in an almost perfect state. She stepped up beside Hong Ah-reum and directly declared that she would challenge for first place. Looking at the expression in Lee Ha-yeon's eyes, Hong Ah-reum finally understood. She was serious. Hong Ah-reum sneered. Her? Today, she would make her understand who the real queen was. The first donation arrived right on time, and this battle for the throne officially began. Hong Ah-reum flaunted herself to the fullest in front of the camera, fully convinced that trash like Lee Ha-yeon could never shake her. Hong Ah-reum publicly showed off her fan base, using a contemptuous tone to belittle Lee Ha-yeon as a nobody. Hong Ah-reum glanced sideways at Lee Ha-yeon behind her and said she admired her struggle. Licking her lips, she enjoyed the thrill of trampling her opponent underfoot, waiting to watch Lee Ha-yeon break down. Just like how she had once driven that teacher into a dead end. Hong Ah-reum immersed herself in the pleasure of destroying other people, enjoying the process of crushing their dignity bit by bit. But then a 20,000 donation suddenly dropped, instantly shattering Hong Ah-reum's control. Hong Ah-reum could not believe it. How could trash like Lee Ha-yeon, who used to rank last, get a donation like that? Then came another 20,000. The whole place erupted, and for the first time Hong Ah-reum tasted what it felt like to be dragged down from her pedestal. Lee Ha-yeon, however, spoke calmly and told Hong Ah-reum to give up her spot. She directly said she wanted the center position, and that calmness cut like a blade straight into Hong Ah-reum's nerves. Hong Ah-reum forcibly suppressed her anger and squeezed out a fake smile, and could only watch helplessly as Lee Ha-yeon stole the spotlight that should have belonged to her. Hong Ah-reum retreated to one side, full of resentment. She could not understand how Lee Ha-yeon could be getting so many donations. Lee Ha-yeon fully bloomed on stage, as if proclaiming her return, while Hong Ah-reum could only serve as the background. Hong Ah-reum even suspected that the money had been sent to the wrong person. The humiliation of being overtaken made her whole body itch, and she immediately decided to mobilize her fan club. Hong Ah-reum played the victim in the fan group, using the most aggrieved tone to coax those suckers into throwing money to push her rank. Seeing the response in the group, she finally let out a sigh of relief and revealed a cold smile of certain victory. The fan club completely fired up, each person insisting they had to protect her first-place spot. Watching the donations rise, Hong Ah-reum's blood heated up, and she urged those cash machines to hurry faster. The donations rained down, and Hong Ah-reum gloated. Lee Ha-yeon could not stop her. Hong Ah-reum arrogantly told Lee Ha-yeon to go be a backup dancer, not treating her as an opponent at all. Lee Ha-yeon coldly turned back. The center is mine. Those words directly tore apart Hong Ariam's arrogance. But the next second, another 20,000 donation dropped. Hong Ariam completely panicked and did not even dare blink. Lee Hyan's donations flooded in like a tidal wave, instantly grinding Hong Ariam's advantage into dust. Hong Ariam was still forcing herself to look calm, but inside she was already in total chaos. She had no idea what was happening. Looking at the amounts flooding the screen, the boss was so excited he could barely speak coherently. In 6 years, he had never seen anything like this. The endless combo donations directly blew up the entire room. Hong Ariam's heartbeat soared with the numbers, almost ready to explode. Lee Hyan returned Hong Ariam's old humiliating words back to her word for word, while Hong Ariam's fans could no longer keep up. Staring at Lee Hyan's back as she stood in the center, Hong Ariam realized that if this continued, her throne really would be gone. Then a 30,000 donation slammed down, and the boss completely lost control. Lee Hyan's score had far surpassed Hong Ariam's. The ranking was announced. Lee Hyan had taken first place. That girl who had once ranked dead last had really stolen Hong Ariam's throne. Hong Ariam broke down. She had actually lost to the person she had always trampled on. Lee Hyan climbed to the top by stepping on Hong Ariam's dignity, while Hong Ariam herself could only become the stepping stone. Hong Ariam forced herself to calm down. She still had one final card, that mysterious man who could keep her in first forever. Bampo God Building owner had always used massive donations to raise Hong Ariam into the queen of live streaming. Hong Ariam did not care in the least what kind of dirty business her sugar daddy was involved in. As long as she could squeeze money from him, nothing else mattered to her. She immediately sent him a message playing the victim, coaxing him to throw money and take first place back for her. Hong Ariam spoke to the camera, "Just wait and see, Lee Hyan. I'm about to make my comeback." Lee Hyan was still immersed in the applause of the stage, unaware that Hong Ariam was already preparing to tear everything from her. But the instant the final ranking came out, Hong Ariam was stunned on the spot. She was actually last place? How was that possible? Hong Ariam stared at the ranking board, and her whole worldview collapsed on the spot. The eternal number one had become dead last. She could not accept it. Not second, not third. How could she drop straight to last? Impossible. The other streamers mocked her publicly, calling her Mississippi last place and trampling her dignity beneath their feet. Even more vicious voices followed. A loser at the bottom still thinks she deserves to stand? Squat down like the failure you are. Hong Ariam froze where she stood, cold sweat pouring down. What exactly had happened? The boss knew very well. Hong Ariam had no idea why she had ranked last. Almost all her donations relied on that mysterious sugar daddy, but today, he had not appeared at all. The money that should have gone to Hong Ariam had all flowed to the other streamers instead, and the viewers were wildly enjoying the spectacle. The reason was simple. In this kind of competitive livestream, the fall of first place was exactly the kind of thrilling scene the audience loved most. But Hong Ariam was still hypnotizing herself. It was not over yet, and even if there was only a little time left, she could still turn it around. She refused to become that bottom-ranked streamer who would be despised forever. She absolutely could not become a loser, and she frantically demanded to know where her sugar daddy was. The scene shifted to a shattered phone smeared with blood. A bloody ambush had broken out, and the thugs fell one after another, leaving only muffled groans of pain. The surviving leader, covered in blood, propped himself up and demanded to know who had come. A cold voice rang out. "I found you, the mysterious sugar daddy who has been throwing money at Hong Ariam. Now you will pay the price for illegal money laundering and debt-related crimes, Mr. Kong Jangdae." Kim Sang-in had finally followed the trail. Holding a candid photo in his hand, he locked onto the man worshipped like a god in the live streaming circle. Mane said that this man's name was Kong Jangdae, the owner of a live stream entertainment company. But it was not a legitimate company at all. Its revenue was built entirely on donations, and the problem had been visible from the beginning. Under the pretense of sponsorship, they conducted fake transactions, laundered money, and evaded taxes. That was their true face. To put it plainly, it was money for nothing. After the platform took its cut, the funds flowed back under the name of cashback, but in essence it was a laundering channel. Strip away the outer layer, and this was a complete criminal chain. Since that was the case, the next step was simple. At this moment, Kong Jangdae was still shouting stubbornly, unaware that the gates of hell had already opened. He thought that holding a weapon would let him turn the tables on Kim Sang-in. But he could not even touch the edge of Kim Sang-in's clothes. Everything was futile. "I told you long ago, you have no right to refuse." The intense pain completely robbed Kong Jangdae of the ability to resist, and he could only lie on the ground wailing. "Don't blame me for using the most direct method to make you talk. Since your ears are useless, there's no need to keep them." A shrill scream tore through the air, and this round of reckoning temporarily came to an end. Kim Sang-in made a phone call and told his men to get ready. The negotiation was over. Next, the plan would move into its next stage. Inside the studio, some people were laughing recklessly at the camera, waiting to watch a drama whose script had already been written. They publicly exposed the reality. Without her backer, Homeroom could not even hold on to her ranking. Wave after wave of humiliation crashed over her, pushing her almost to the point of losing control on camera. Yet the live stream was not over. They laughed while trampling her dignity, leaving not even the last bit of face to her. What broke Homeroom even more was that the viewers were also mocking her fall along with them. Some people are still dreaming that I'm different and refusing to accept being at the bottom. Homeroom exploded on the spot and screamed back hysterically, "Shut the hell up, all of you. I'm the biggest star here." The director finally lost all patience and ordered her out of the studio on the spot. "Homeroom, without anyone donating to you, you're nothing. Stop acting like some big celebrity here." She was still struggling uselessly as the staff shoved and dragged her, urging her to get out. The director turned to the camera with a smile to smooth things over, harvesting her meltdown as part of the show's effect. Her former rival spoke in mocking half-truths to the camera and directly nailed the label of bottom-ranked onto her. Clips of her breakdown spread crazily all over the internet, turning her into the last-place screaming girl everyone laughed at. Homeroom had thought that without her, the donations would collapse, but reality slapped her hard in the face. Watching others start a stream and instantly get 10,000 likes, she finally understood. From beginning to end, she had only been a puppet of her backer. Homeroom stared at the screen and finally understood. Lee Hyun's sudden explosion in popularity had never been luck. That familiar donation ID pierced through the truth. Lee Hyun's new backer was the very sugar daddy who had once supported her. That man had personally dragged her down from her pedestal, then turned around and lifted someone else up. She was nothing more than a discarded chess piece. Homeroom returned to school as if nothing had happened, pretending to be friendly with her former rival. Smiling at Lee Hyun, she said that Lee really did have talent, and that she had known from the start. Homeroom also said she had long known Lee Hyun would blow up, and that since she had originally introduced her to that line of work, she deserved some credit too. As she spoke, she rummaged through her bag, preparing to give a gift. Homeroom handed over a designer bag, the very same brand that had first attracted Lee Hyun before. She said they were best friends, that this kind of gift was nothing, and that best friends should help each other and understand each other without needing to say much. Homeroom leaned close to Lee Hyun's ear and told her to introduce her to the backer behind her. Unexpectedly, Lee Hyun agreed without hesitation and even said that the backer wanted to meet her too, thinking she had great potential. Lee Hyun even directly told her who the backer was and arranged the meeting. Homeroom was still plotting how to steal the backer away, never expecting the chance to come this fast. Standing at the entrance of a luxury hotel, Homeroom only then learned that the so-called backer was not an individual, but an entertainment company that wanted to sign her. Their very first meeting was at a top-tier hotel. This smell of money was exactly the scent she knew best and loved most. Lee Hyun pretended to be shocked. "Your backer is an entertainment company?" Following Homeroom's lead, she played her part flawlessly. Homeroom understood at once. Lee Hyun's sudden rise had been funded by the company, and this was both her confidence and Homeroom's own path to making a comeback. Lee Hyun smoothly added that her own performance still was not good enough and that she wanted to recommend a newcomer to the company, and Homeroom was already secretly overjoyed. The recommended person really was her. Homeroom put on a flattered expression and thanked her again and again, never knowing until the day she died that she was only a stepping stone for someone else's climb. Homeroom arrived at the hotel as agreed, and the CEO's greeting instantly put her in the mood. The show had begun. Shin Jong-yu of Chunghong Entertainment personally welcomed her, and Homeroom knew this step had landed firmly. Shin Jong-yu took her into the hotel to discuss cooperation, saying he wanted to sign her as soon as possible, but Homeroom did not notice the pair of eyes watching from the shadows. Homeroom was secretly delighted, unaware that the abyss meant for her had already opened. When Kim Sang-in used to collect debts, he once stood with his mentor in front of a group of debtors and issued orders. His mentor said that the price of debt was to work for him. For the next month, they had to eat every meal at the restaurant he designated, and no one dared object. After the debtors dispersed, Kim Sang-in was puzzled. Why was he drumming up business for a restaurant owner who had borrowed money? His mentor smiled. This was the real way to collect a debt. Just watch the show. Kim Sang-in stared at his mentor's back, knowing that this month would be anything but simple. Back in the present, Shin Jong-yu was painting a future of top stardom for Homeroom. The moment she heard the words top star, Homeroom's eyes instantly lit up. Shin Jong-yu struck while the iron was hot, using top-tier treatment as bait while waiting for her to sign. Homeroom said the conditions were too good, but in her heart she knew very well. She had come here to take advantage, and this deal was absurdly good. But the conditions were too good, and the man was too young, and a sense of unease began creeping into her heart. Something was wrong. Everything was wrong. As if seeing through her, Shin Jong-yu smiled and asked whether she thought he looked like a scammer. and Hong Ariam could only hurriedly deny it. But Shin Jongyu threw out an even bigger lure. That very night, Hong Ariam would replace Lee Haiyan in that ranking live stream. As long as she went, she would see their sincerity with her own eyes. Back in the familiar live stream room, the host announced that today's ace, Lee Haiyan, would not be coming, and Hong Ariam would take her place. Hong Ariam sneered inwardly. She had not come to be scolded. She had come to take back what should have belonged to her. The comments were full of ridicule and insults. Those who had praised her just days ago had changed sides faster than turning a page. She finally understood. That person had never been helping her, but had pushed her onto the fire. The host was still acting pitiful for effect. From the start, they had never wanted to help her. She was only a traffic-generating tool to them. Hong Ariam had been played like a fool, trembling with anger and regretting ever stepping into this hellish place. But the next second, the atmosphere suddenly changed, and the mockery on the host's face froze instantly. Even the other streamers stared in shock. No one had expected what came next to completely overturn the stream. Looking at everything before her, Hong Ariam could not help laughing. The real show was only just beginning. The host stammered as he announced that Hong Ariam had received an enormous donation, and the live stream instantly exploded. 500,000 hearts smashed through the rankings, shattering the platform's record, and Hong Ariam instantly climbed to first place. This was what real sincerity looked like. Without even signing a contract yet, resources of this level were already being poured into her. She was set. Who would dare mock her now? The moment the stream ended, Hong Ariam immediately went to find that person and smiled, saying she was willing to sign the contract. Shin Jongyu smoothly picked up the conversation and said the contract would be prepared immediately. Hong Ariam made one last confirmation. Would she have to appear with Lee Haiyan again in the future? Shin Jongyu said there was no need to worry. If they had her, what did they need Lee Haiyan for? But when the contract was placed in front of her, Hong Ariam realized that she could not understand it at all, and her heart instantly began to panic. Party A, Party B, delegated authority. She stared at those words, and her mind went blank. Shin Jongyu saw through her embarrassment at a glance, and with contempt in his tone, asked whether this was her first time looking at a contract. Hong Ariam could only force herself to hold on, pretending to stay calm while hurriedly smoothing things over, though inwardly she was rattled. Shin Jongyu reassured her, saying she did not need to worry about monthly salary settlements. Looking at that office tower in the heart of Seoul, Hong Ariam thought, with a company this big, how could they possibly cheat a small streamer like her? Once she signed, she would rise to the top in one step. Hong Ariam gritted her teeth and signed the contract. An opportunity like this would disappear if she missed it. At the moment she put pen to paper, she thought she had grabbed the key to her fate. But the man opposite her stared at that contract with greedy eyes. In order to maintain her image as the queen of sponsorship, Hong Ariam began spending frantically, buying only the most expensive clothes. To maintain her figure, she locked herself in the gym and treated sweat like an admission ticket. In the end, she truly became the queen of sponsorship they called her. Sponsorships rained down like a storm, and she finally sat at the unquestioned peak. Hong Ariam immersed herself in the applause, and her ambition began to swell. She was no longer satisfied with being just a streamer. Then came the day for profit sharing, and she walked into that high-rise building full of confidence. She had streamed day and night, so however the numbers were calculated, the returns could not possibly be small. She knocked on the door full of expectation, only to be met with formal politeness. He deliberately put on a serious look and emphasized that the amount was huge, but calculation hid in his eyes. Hong Ariam suppressed her excitement, her head filled with nothing but that string of numbers. Watching him type at the keyboard, every second felt like torture to her. The sound of the keyboard came rapidly and densely, and Hong Ariam prayed inwardly that it would be a surprise in the tens of millions. The story shifted elsewhere, and the scene cut back to the school. Lee Haiyan asked her homeroom teacher, saying she did not understand. Why let Hong Ariam's path seem to go so smoothly? There was no good luck. Everything you saw was an illusion. All of it was a setup. The current Hong Ariam was just prey waiting to be harvested. That so-called help was, in essence, a trap. 3 months later, that restaurant was smashed to pieces and became the sacrifice of the scam. The mentor bragged with a smile, saying that the owner had owed 400 million won. Yet until the day he died, he never understood how he had ended up that way. The mentor said he would teach Kim Sang-in a lesson by breaking the whole scam down for him from beginning to end. The story began when the owner borrowed 50 million won to open a restaurant. Everything looked like kindness at first. The owner worked hard, business was good, and he repaid on time. It had originally been a win-win. But just when half the debt had been repaid, the mentor quietly slipped the noose around his neck. That little shop, which had only barely managed to survive, suddenly saw its customer traffic triple, and destruction began from there. Looking at the booming business, the owner thought he had finally endured long enough and that his luck had finally turned. His head filled with nothing but expansion, except he lacked the startup capital. A thought took root in his heart. borrow once more, just this once. But what he did not know was that the moment he signed that new loan, the scam had already begun tightening its net. The customer flow vanished overnight, and the interest snowballed until it crushed him completely. That once diligent owner was destroyed little by them, and only at the very end did he see the truth. He collapsed in tears, so the so-called good luck had all been a web carefully woven by someone else. The cruelest way to destroy a person is to first give them false hope. It is that simple. And at this very moment, Homeroom was going through the exact same thing. She thought she had met a benefactor, when in fact someone had planted the poison of hope in her heart. Kim Sang-in turned and left. Homeroom's hell had already begun. No profit share yet? Homeroom had been waiting full of anticipation for that huge payment, but what she got instead was a sentence cold enough to pierce bone. Final settlement amount, -300 million won. Miss Homeroom. Homeroom's face went deathly pale at once. She had worked herself half to death, so how could she possibly owe money? Shin Jong-yu tore off the disguise and revealed his savage true face, and Kim Sang-in had also become her creditor. What the hell? Why is there even a debt collector here? And why is it her homeroom teacher? Now she would pay the price for everything she had done. Starting today, the torment had only just begun. Kim Sang-in grabbed Homeroom by the hair, and she screamed in pain. Homeroom was still shouting, "Homeroom teacher, this is extortion. I won't accept this." Kim Sang-in spoke coldly. "You still don't understand? You were the one who started this game. We only pushed it one step further. In other words, you now owe me 300 million won." Kim Sang-in pulled her hair and forced her to hear it clearly. "If you owe a debt, then repay it." Even on her deathbed, Homeroom would never have imagined that her creditor would be her homeroom teacher. She was still shouting that a teacher could not lay hands on a student, not knowing that Kim Sang-in had never come here to teach. Kim Sang-in made her listen carefully. Stop struggling. From now on, she would pay the price for everything she had done. She would have to use everything she had to repay Kim Ian's life. At a time like this, you're still asking what 300 million means? Ridiculous. Even now, you still can't see the situation you're in? It doesn't matter. The result won't change. You don't need to understand. You only need to repay every last bit of what you owe me. The contract is there in black and white. You signed it with your own hand, so you can't deny it. Homeroom stubbornly claimed this was fraud, forgetting every word she had signed. Not paying? Then I'll let the whole world know that you're a deadbeat who refuses to repay money. Starting with your parents, I'll notify every single person who knows you. Whether you're studying, working, getting married, or even fleeing to the ends of the earth, I will chase this debt to the very end. Even if you die, I will dig the money out of your funeral expenses. That is the price of owing me money. You want to know who I am? I am the older brother of the teacher you drove to death. At the same time, I am a loan shark. I am not a good person. Only then did Homeroom truly understand what kind of person she had provoked. Now that you've figured it out, get up. Use your labor to repay the debt you owe me. Following Kim Sang-in to Mucheon Station, she still had no idea what she was about to face. This was Seoul's famous gathering place for wire streamers. The streamers sat in rows doing live broadcasts like sparrows on electric wires. That was how the name came about. These people had no bottom line when it came to donations, the very lowest tier of the streaming world. Homeroom desperately refused, forgetting that she had no choice at all. Aside from this fastest way of making money, do you have any other skill that can repay a debt? She was still trying to argue that there was no way this kind of streaming could repay 300 million won. If 300 million is impossible, then repay 5 million first. You can manage that, can't you? The astronomical number suddenly became 5 million, and Homeroom instantly saw hope. Before Kim Sang-in had even mentioned interest, she hurriedly agreed, afraid he might change his mind. Naively, she thought that once she repaid 5 million, she could free herself from Kim Ian and from this debt. Kim Sang-in could, of course, guarantee that, provided she really could repay it. Start streaming now. I'll watch you the whole time, so don't try any tricks. Do you really think 5 million is easy to earn? Go ahead and cling to that false hope. Soon you'll understand just how heavy 5 million really is. Homeroom took a deep breath and started the stream. Hellish debt repayment had officially begun. She forced a smile and used the same cloyingly sweet lines she knew to please the audience, without realizing that this was no longer her stage. The audience saw at a glance that this was wire streamer territory, and Homeroom hurriedly explained that she was only trying a new style. A 10,000 won donation was enough to force her to dance publicly. Her pride was crushed on the spot. Homeroom still tried to put on airs, complaining that the donation was too small and trying to use her former status to control the audience. But the comment slapped her in the face directly. Nobody here would buy that act. In her heart she cursed the audience to hell, but outwardly she could only keep pretending to be obedient, completely stripped of her former arrogance. Watching her act so self-important, Kim Sang-in knew she still had not really tasted the flavor of death. It was time for class. Hong Ariam was still complaining that the audience did not understand the market and reminiscing about the glory days when one dance brought 1,000,000. The next second, however, the person Kim Sang-in had sent was already standing before her. With one kick, that man smashed her streaming equipment, crushing her last bit of luck with it. She wanted to make threats, but the other man's abuse choked every word back down her throat. Passers-by only thought this was some scripted farce, and no one would stand up for her. The man laid his cards on the table. Kim Sang-in had sent him to watch her stream, and he had traded his own debt for this job. Even more brutally, Kim Sang-in had promised that every single one she earned in donations could be deducted from the principal. Almost like a madman, the man forced her to face reality. If she kept throwing tantrums, she really could lose her life. At last, Hong Ariam understood. She no longer had the right to be picky. To repay her debt, she cast aside all her pride and danced in public on the street, with nothing left but humiliation. She threw herself into the mud, actively pandering to the audience for donations. Even for 10,000 won, she could only obey. The chains of debt had bound her tight. Her pitiful street livestream became a joke, and only then did she finally understand what labor was. In the blink of an eye, it was the final day for repayment, and she had scraped together 5,000,000 won. Only one step from the goal. She still wanted to preserve the last bit of dignity and stubbornly refused to do an even more degrading performance, not noticing that trouble had already found her. A local streamer gang came over to block her and immediately told her to get out of their territory. They made it clear that they were there to drive her away, mocking her for daring to come steal food from their mouths without even having a team. Hong Ariam still had not faced reality, and fired back stubbornly, instantly igniting the other side's anger. Enraged by her attitude, they announced on the spot that they would teach her a lesson. She was pinned to the ground and beaten savagely, while her live stream filled with spectators mocking the scene. She curled up holding her head, and even her streaming equipment was taken away, leaving her with no chance to turn things around. Her attackers were still jeering. No one would donate to a streamer getting beaten up, and her 5,000,000 was finished. The viewers offered a reward of 1,000,000 won, betting that she would be shaved bald, and she still did not understand. This was not a joke. It was punishment. The local thug pulled out a set of clippers, clearly intending to cash in on the viewer's bet. They were long used to doing this sort of thing. Hong Ariam was pinned down so tightly that no amount of struggling could help. She could only watch helplessly as the clippers came down. She screamed in despair, but it was already too late. Her streaming career was cut off together with her long hair. That night, Kim Sang-in had 5,000,000 won transferred into her account, and she thought the debt was settled and the nightmare was over. Kim Sang-in found Hong Ariam and calmly asked her whether she thought it had ended. With red eyes, Hong Ariam broke down and demanded to know why, saying she had already repaid the money and begging him to let her go. Kim Sang-in directly exposed the truth, that 5,000,000 was only the principal, and she had not paid a single one in interest. Hong Ariam was completely dumbfounded. Back then, for the sake of that 5,000,000, she had signed without even reading the interest clause. She had been doomed from the start. Kim Sang-in pronounced her sentence: weekly interest 100%, annual interest 5,200%. What she had to repay today was 10,000,000. Hong Ariam collapsed on the spot. Even if she fought with her life, she could never repay it, not in one lifetime. Even if you die, you still have to repay it. Get back out there and keep earning. Hong Ariam. At this moment, she hated to the core the woman who had dragged her into this mess in the first place. Why should she have to ruin her whole life for that person? Hong Ariam was never going to simply accept her fate, and an even darker thought rose in her heart. She went to the people from Samak Entertainment and swore publicly, as long as they could take care of that madman, she was willing to do anything. Kong Zhengde, the boss of Samak Entertainment, recognized those glasses. He too had been looking for that bastard for a long time. With one order, he assembled everyone. Today we're taking down that glasses-wearing bastard. I want to get on top of him and smash him to pieces. Just then, a voice rang out, so familiar it sent chills through them, and the sound of leather shoes echoed across the construction site. No need to look. I already knew you'd all gather together. Seems none of you are satisfied. Then how about I beat you all down one more time? The scene shifted, and the daylight outside split the tea house into bright and dark halves as the man sitting across from Hwang Byung-hyeon stared at him as if judging a life-and-death deal. Hwang Byung-hyeon's fingertips still rested on the rim of his cup when the other side blocked him with a crisp no. Hwang Byung-hyeon took a sip of his ice drink and said lightly, "He won't be lent out. Kim Sang-in is the core of Junhong capital." The other man set down his spoon, urgency in his tone. "None of us has hands as clean as his. I only want to borrow him for a while to give some guidance and train my people. If Junhong needs people, we can send some over as well. No need. Junhong isn't short on people." Hwang Byung-hyeon said one word at a time. "In any case, Kim Sang-in is out of the question. To me, that guy is my cash cow." Then his tone shifted, his gaze sweeping behind the other man with amusement in it. Besides, don't you still have manager Lee over there? Baechin was taken aback and followed Huang Byung-hyen's gaze. The one from Baechin Loans, Lee Gubium? Leaning against the sofa, Lee Gubium had a mocking curl at the corner of his mouth. Chairman Huang sure knows how to put it nicely. The old man's always telling me to learn Kim Sang-in's methods, and I'm sick of hearing it. Baechin looked at Lee Gubium. That's because your debt collection is too rough. If you were as smooth as Kim Sang-in, would things have gotten this ugly? Chairman Huang, what do you think? On one side, there's Kim Sang-in, the cash cow of Junhong Capital, and on the other, there's me, Lee Gubium of Baechin Loans. His gaze was like a blade as he stared directly at Huang Byung-hyen. If you could choose only one, which one is worth more? The scene shifted to the construction site. Looking at the densely packed crowd, Kim Sang-in said flatly, "There are more people than I expected. About 31. Fine. That's enough for a proper fight this time." Kong Jiangdae sneered. "You run a loan shark business and pretend to be a teacher, all just to avenge your sister? Ridiculous." Suppressing his rage, he roared, "Then you should have taken Hong Ariam out back then. We haven't made a cent this whole month, and now we're stuck in a debt crisis. That only proves you're incompetent." Kim Sang-in's voice was as cold as iron. "I'm only here to take Hong Ariam back to work." Kong Jiangdae's eyes turned vicious. "Since you're here, don't think about leaving. Let us beat our fill out of you first." His subordinate stirred restlessly, ready to pounce. "Kill him." As the words fell, the crowd surged toward Kim Sang-in like a flood. Kim Sang-in's gaze turned deathly cold as he quietly watched this rabble rushing at him. "Damn it. Because of him, all our income for this month went down the drain. If I want to answer to the people above, I'll have to bring back that bastard's head." The next second, a scream tore through the air, and everyone's faces changed at once. Kong Jiangdae barely dodged a subordinate who came flying at him. But in the blink of an eye, all of his men had already been taken down by Kim Sang-in. Kim Sang-in stood in the middle of the wreckage, blood still dripping from his fingertips. He raised his eyes toward Hong Ariam's direction, his tone icy. "Don't run. Wait for me." Kim Sang-in bent low and charged into the crowd, and it was over quickly. Screams rang out one after another, and cold sweat poured down Hong Ariam's back as she trembled in fear. Punch after punch, Kim Sang-in struck cleanly, precisely, fatally, and his enemies fell like paper. They could not even see how he was throwing his punches and could only take the beating honestly. Watching this scene, Kong Jiangdae froze completely. Blood trickled from his subordinate's mouth, and he could not even beg properly. Looking at his own blood-stained fists, Kim Sang-in shattered Kong Jiangdae's last psychological defense. When the final punch landed, all sound dropped to zero. "Now it's your turn. Since you came all this way, don't leave until I've had my fun." Hong Ariam collapsed onto the ground. With only one thought left in her head, this time, she was really finished. Kong Jiangdae panicked so badly that his voice shook. "Wait." With a thud, he dropped to his knees, his forehead slamming hard into the ground as he howled for mercy. He lay there, not daring to raise his head, babbling incoherently in explanation. Kim Sang-in raised a brow, not even bothering to listen. Kong Jiangdae kept banging his head frantically, crying and begging for leniency. Then a strange voice suddenly rang out. "Hey, what kind of sight is a grown man groveling on the ground like that?" A black-haired man slowly walked out, his tone full of mockery. "You're not young anymore. Lift your head." The black-haired man swept his gaze across the mess on the ground, his smile deepening. "Do you really think you can wash your hands of this mess?" Kong Jiangdae was just about to defend himself. He wanted to shift the blame onto Kim Sang-in, but before the words left his mouth, one look from the man forced them back down. The man could not be bothered to hear any nonsense. A wicked grin curled on his lips. "Rather than listen to you ramble, I'd rather hear what team leader Kim Sang-in has to say. That would be much more interesting." Kim Sang-in looked up at Lee Gubium and exposed it in one sentence. "The fact that you'd appear here means he owes money to Baechin Loans." Lee Gubium smiled and nodded. "That's right, they usually pay on time, but they were late today, so I came to take a look. Turns out you've gotten dragged into it too." His gaze fell on the pink-haired woman collapsed on the ground, and he understood immediately. "So it's because of her." The woman shuddered all over, even her breathing stopping. Kim Sang-in looked at Lee Gubium. "No matter how you put it, I only came to pick someone up, yet I got dragged into your trouble." Lee Gubium smiled. "Should we ask Junhong for compensation? But that's too troublesome, and it would sour relations between the two companies." Kim Sang-in lifted his eyes and fixed them on him. "Is there a cleaner way? I did indeed damage Baechin Loans' business. I'm not going to pretend it never happened, but I can tell, you have another motive." Lee Gubium's smile widened, his tone amused. "Was it that obvious?" He slowly began to speak, bringing up that cafe meeting from some time ago. At the time, Chairman Wang had said, "A question like who is more useful, you or Sang-in, isn't easy to answer." Baekjin immediately replied, "What's so hard about that? Of course Kim Sang-in is more useful. In the business, they even call him the loan shark teacher." Lee Gubium gave a small smile. Wouldn't ordinary people usually say the person right in front of them is stronger? But since Chairman Wang said so too, then it must be true. Baekjin also joked, I said Sangin was stronger too, you brat. Chairman Wang shifted the subject and slowly added, but there is one area where Sangin is inferior to Manager Lee. Baekjin looked full of disdain. Lee Ju-bm is better than him at something? Better at what? Fighting matters a lot in loan sharking too. Sangin is very good in a fight, but Manager Lee's physical skills, let's just say they're a natural gift. The scene snapped back to the present, and Lee Ju-bm stared at Kim Sangin. Those elders praise you like some top-tier loan shark. So I'm curious, do you actually deserve it? I have a proposal, loan shark teacher, team leader Kim Sangin. Kim Sangin stayed silent, listening as he continued. No matter what, you did interfere with Baekjin Loan's debt collection. Of course we could formally negotiate with Junhong, but that would be troublesome for both sides. He rolled his wrists and took up a fighting stance, his eyes full of battle intent. If you can beat me, we'll act like none of this ever happened. Don't overthink it, team leader Kim. The stage is already set. My hands are itching, so let's get started. Kim Sangin did not hesitate and accepted the match on the spot. But Lee Ju-bm felt that was not enough, so he raised the stakes again. If Kim Sangin lost, that woman's debt would be wiped clean as well. Kim Sangin knew Hong Ariam owed an enormous sum, but at this moment he still owed Baekjin a favor. Then let's do it, Lee Ju-bm. Kim Sangin also took his stance. Lee Ju-bm was very pleased that Kim Sangin had not run, and was already imagining the thrill of defeating him. Hong Ariam never could have imagined that she herself would be put on the table as a wager. Kim Sangin proposed sealing it with a thumbprint, and Lee Ju-bm sneered. What, do you want to stamp it with your blood? Baekjin Credit, the largest underground loan shark company in Zhangyo District. Other lenders gave loans to scattered individual clients, but their clients were all criminal groups involved in smuggling, online gambling, telecom fraud, tax evasion, and alike. Gang clients had low repayment rates, a kind of business other lenders avoided like the plague, but Baekjin was not afraid at all. The reason was simple, every single person in Baekjin was far from an ordinary debt collector. Every one of them had the ability to wrest debt back from the hands of criminal organizations. And among this pack of ruthless characters, there was one universally acknowledged ceiling of combat. That person was Lee Ju-bm, Baekjin's mad dog, Lee Ju-bm. This was also the first time Kim Sangin had truly witnessed his strength. And this was only the beginning. He struck first, trying to seize the initiative, an undeniably clever move. But Kim Sangin could tell, this guy was no strategist at all. Lee Ju-bm kicked out, still mocking Kim Sangin for being duller than the rumors said. Today, he would personally smash Kim Sangin's myth to pieces. Kim Sangin had no time to dodge, and could only take the heavy blow head-on. Hong Ariam was stunned. There could actually be a monster like this. Lee Ju-bm lunged forward, continuing to sneer. Trash like you can be called the strongest? Those chairmen must be blind too if they can't even judge people properly. Kim Sangin realized that Lee Ju-bm's speed and reactions were above his own, but that his attacks lacked structure. Since that was the case, Kim Sangin chose to close in and grapple, using proximity to lock down his range of movement. But Lee Ju-bm dodged the attack with a bizarre posture so strange it was almost unnatural. He smiled and mocked him. Kim Sangin was still using the same common grab and strike trick. Everyone says you're boring and rigid. Even a layman could tell, Lee Ju-bm was the one with the upper hand right now. Kim Sangin forced his body to hold on, the aftershock in his leg not yet gone. Lee Ju-bm kept pressing him. Show me something real. That day in the coffee shop, Lee Ju-bm had taken his leave from the chairman first to go handle work, and the only thing the chairman told him was not to go too far. Baekjin had asked Chairman Wang why he praised Lee Ju-bm as the strongest fighter. Wang Byung-hyan had said it plainly. Lee Ju-bm was a lunatic overflowing with competitive instinct, and the moment those words were spoken, he would inevitably hound Sangin into a serious all-out fight. Wang Byung-hyan had long expected that the mad dog would lunge and bite the moment he got a chance. Didn't you say you wanted to invite Sangin to teach your people? I just had Lee Ju-bm go exchange pointers with Sangin. After one bite, he'll learn something and come back. At that moment, Kim Sangin slowly straightened up. Your attacks aren't clean enough, so you've already lost. Lee Ju-bm burst out laughing. Did I hit you too hard and break your brain? Since you refuse to admit it, I'll beat you until you do. I told you, you can't beat me. Not being clean enough is your greatest weakness. When a person is in the air, their space to dodge gets locked down. Those strange moves you fight with, based on talent and instinct, may look hard to predict, but in truth they have even more openings. Don't let me see through you. The moment I do, you were doomed to lose from the start. That last hit was strong enough, I'll give you that. My vision even blurred for a moment. You should have pressed your advantage, but instead you wasted time talking nonsense. So from now on, when an opportunity appears in front of you, finish the job. That shouldn't be difficult for you. Lee Ju-bm engraved the lesson firmly into his mind. One scream brought the duel to an end. Hong Ariam was already so frightened she could barely breathe. I gave you a chance to repay your debt, but I don't see even the slightest sign that you want to repay it. Tonight, I will put an end to this debt collection. On the fishing boat in the foggy night, only muffled sounds of struggle echoed across the sea. A subordinate reported to Kim Sang-in that all the cement had already been mixed. Kim Sang-in stood there in silence, listening to Hong Ariam's final desperate retching. Pour in the cement. The scene returned to the past, where Kim Sang-in sat in a car, watching Kim Yin from afar. They had once been inseparable, but later conflict tore them apart, and after years of separation, each now had a life of their own. Kim Sang-in could only secretly watch her through the cracks in his work. For the sake of protecting his sister, he had chosen to keep his distance. The younger sister who once could not do without her brother was actually working alone to save up her tuition. No matter how heavily life pressed down on her, she never stopped moving forward. In the fragments of her spare time, she was still preparing for the teacher certification exam. The graduation cap flew into the clear sky, and at last she had relied on herself to break free from that swamp-like family, without needing to bow her head to creditors the way Kim Sang-in had. Kim Sang-in stood in the distance, watching her shine. That light no longer belonged to him. 1,000 words clogged his throat, and in the end all that remained was a silent gaze. The bouquet he had prepared was ultimately thrown away by Kim Sang-in into an unnoticed corner. At last, he made up his mind. He would no longer secretly watch over her life. He would rather push their reunion into some distant future. He was in the mud, unworthy of letting her see how miserable he was, and he did not want to drag her back into those wounds caused by him. Go chase your dreams. Forget me, and all the ugly memories that come with me. Kim Sang-in pushed the iron drum into the sea. Oxygen vanished rapidly, and the instinct to survive tore wildly at the despair. Icy seawater flooded Hong Ariam's airway, and she had already lost the ability to think. On the deep night sea, Kim Sang-in said in a low voice, "Do you know? Before lack of oxygen paralyzes the brain, the piercing pain slowly fades away, and only peace remains. So before that moment arrives, we'll pull her back up again, and then lower her again, letting her struggle over and over, suffer over and over." The winch turned, and the iron drum was pulled back out of the sea. The terror of surviving disaster completely broke Hong Ariam. She collapsed, confessing, begging for mercy, admitting everything, but they had no interest at all in hearing that nonsense from her. Hong Ariam cried until she lost her voice, begging again and again for them to spare her life. "Impossible. There is no exit from hell. Now a new round of punishment begins. You will pay the price for what you did. It was your own stupid and selfish choices that pushed you to where you are today. With your own hands, you destroyed the person who gave everything trying to pull you into the light." She was full of sincerity, wanting only to live out her life honorably. That younger sister whom I tried with all my tenderness to protect worked so hard to walk toward the light. You people pushed her to the brink. Now it's time to repay the debt. Don't blame me for being cruel, blame yourself. The suffocating cold water wrapped itself around her despair and little by little swallowed her consciousness. Across that boundless stretch of sea, this cycle of revenge would not stop. Morning light swept across the hull, and sunlight spread over the distant water. Kim Sang-in ordered his men to open the lid. Hong Ariam was delirious, muttering incoherently. A subordinate warned, "If this continues, she'll die." Kim Sang-in replied coldly, "Of course I won't let her die. She still has a debt to repay." Kim Sang-in ordered the boat turned around. This round of reckoning would end here for now. Looking at the lingering light of the first sunrise, Kim Sang-in prepared to completely destroy this sinner. This debt was not over, and the reckoning would not stop. Kim Sang-in intended to trap her in a psychiatric hospital for the rest of her life, never to see the light again. Everyone who had hurt his sister, he would make them repay it double. Kim Ian's eyes fell on the marigolds in the trash can. She did not understand. Flowers that beautiful, why had they been thrown away so casually? A companion urged her to go take a photo, and only then did she come back to herself, softly answering and following the crowd. In that lively graduation moment, she thought to herself, if only her brother were here too. She had once believed her brother would stand smiling before her, holding her favorite flowers. As petals rained through the air, she never imagined that the next time she saw her, it would be as a tragedy. The scene shifted again, in a dim, silent gym. Heavy breathing and the dull sounds of exercise machines echoed together. A man pushed a barbell upward with every ounce of strength he had. He was in terrible condition today, as if his soul were missing. In a daze, he missed deeply the teacher who had once pushed him so strictly. Without someone watching him, his strength felt diminished. He truly grieved the death of that teacher. Kim Sang-in stepped closer and closer to the limp Hong Ariam, coldly calling out her name. "Now admit your crime and tell the truth. You have no choice." Hong Ariam began shifting blame, pushing the entire origin of it all onto someone else. That person was the class president, Eome Jun. The scene shifted back to the campus, and Kim Sang-in announced gravely, Hong Ariam had developed mental problems. From now on, she would be taking a long leave of absence and receiving hospital treatment, and she would not be coming to class again this semester. The whole class was shocked. No one could believe this would happen to someone as high profile as her. She has been tormented by guilt and can't pull herself out of it. Kim Sang-in's tone was gentle, yet it cut like a knife. Anyone carrying guilt can come to me and explain everything clearly. That concludes today's homeroom. If you need anything, come find me anytime. You all heard what was said in that homeroom just now, right? The homeroom teacher has already laid hands on Hong Ariam, and it's that kind of cruel revenge. Everyone was uneasy, reminding one another to be extra careful lately. His companions were flustered, worried that the teacher had already uncovered all their secrets. Everyone knew the truth would come out sooner or later. But the person sitting across from Eome Jun had complete contempt for those worries. He was even hoping the teacher would come for him first. He longed for a direct clash with Kim Sang-in, to end everything through brute force. What excited him even more was the sibling relationship between Kim Sang-in and Kim Yeon. Eome Jun instructed them, if the homeroom teacher made contact with anyone, they were to report it immediately. In this storm, no one could remain untouched. During PE class, the gym teacher privately lamented that PE class had long since lost its meaning. College admissions did not consider athletics, so both teachers and students had tacitly come to treat the class as a time to relax. He let the students horse around, simply taking it as stress relief. He did not understand why Kim Sang-in wanted to stand to the side and watch, feeling it was completely unnecessary. Kim Sang-in answered frankly. He intended to keep his eyes on every single student in the class without missing an inch. At that moment the whole class cried out in surprise, as Baek Sang-yu did more than 20 pull-ups in one go. The moment he landed, he arrogantly showed off his swollen muscles to everyone. His classmates were stunned, even from the front. They could clearly see the lines on his back. Someone could not help questioning, how had he built himself up like this in just 1 year? He directly voiced his guess. Baek Sang-yu must have used steroids. Baek Sang-yu instantly flew into a rage and demanded to know what gave him the right to accuse him of drug use. His face twisted viciously as he insisted that he had built everything naturally through sweat alone. He sneered at the skinny boy and arrogantly declared that he was simply gifted by nature. The onlookers panicked. Baek Sang-yu was prone to losing control and getting angry after working out. His fury surged as he threatened to make the boy pay. Stop it, Baek Sang-yu. The class president calmly ordered him to let go of the student he was pinning down at once. The class president reminded him that the homeroom teacher was watching from not far away. Baek Sang-yu suppressed his anger and walked off unwillingly. He headed toward the gym like a madman, wanting to lift weights and use the punching bag as Kim Yeon to vent his rage. He relished the feel of that day's punch, and just remembering it made him feel good. The camera cut to the gym. A notice at the entrance read, "Please throw used steroids in the trash. Do not flush them down the toilet. They clog the septic tank." Baek Sang-yu muttered darkly. He had almost beaten that brat to death just now. After injecting the banned drug, Baek Sang-yu casually flushed the syringe down the toilet. He put on his earphones, arranged today's training plan, and got ready to blast his arms. Today, he was going to train until he was completely exhausted. Just then, a man walked up in front of him, his physique nearly perfect. Hello, Baek Sang-yu had not expected Kim Sang-in to be there too. How many steroids did you shoot today? I'm pretty curious. Baek Sang-yu snapped back angrily. Are you asking to get beaten up? I built this body day and night. What's your problem? Kim Sang-in pulled out his physical exam report from last year and told him to stop acting tough. His height had not changed, but his weight had shot up by 20 kilograms. Normal development could not explain that. And someone who spent every day sitting in a classroom could not possibly build such full muscles at such low body fat through diet alone. Kim Sang-in stared at him. A little exercise in PE class, climbing stairs a few times, then coming here to train a bit during vacation? Your deltoids and traps are developed way too excessively. You haven't been light on the drugs. Of course, whether you use them or not is your business. But after using drugs, if your body can still only end up at this level, honestly, that's kind of embarrassing. Kim Sang-in kept pressing him. Pretty popular right now, right? Long-term drug use does this to you. You can't control your anger. That's why you beat the former homeroom teacher to vent, isn't it? Do you also want to beat the hell out of me the way you did to Kim Yeon? Baek Sang-yu's heart sang. Because he had not expected this new homeroom teacher to know about his past too. Kim Sang-in had not expected it either. He had only poked a little, and Baek Sang-yu was already panicking. The more Baek Sang-yu thought about it, the more chaotic his mind became. He both suspected someone had leaked information and had no idea how to clean this up. Kim Sang-in did not even need to lay hands on him like he had with Hong Ariam. He had already baited him out. Honestly, I can't even be bothered to fight you. Your muscles are fake. A body full of soft junk. I have no interest in it at all. Baek Sang-yu demanded to know whether Kim Sang-in thought he was weak, and Kim Sang-in simply admitted it. Baek Sang-yu arrogantly declared that he would beat him up and would not hold back just because he was a teacher. Stop it, Baek Sang-yu. No fighting in the gym. How many times have I told you that? This middle-aged man was the gym owner, Gwak Dae-bo. At that moment, Baek Sang-yu clenched his teeth. He had not vented by beating someone in a long time. The owner was still trying to smooth things over for him, saying the kid was immature and liked to make trouble, so Kim Sang-in could only let him off for now. The owner told Baek Sang-yu to get home and stop causing trouble here, but Baek Sang-yu said he had not even finished warming up. Go home. I still haven't settled accounts with you over flushing that stuff down the toilet. Don't make things blow up again like last time. Baek Sang-yu had no way to argue and could only leave in silence. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got, and he swore that if Kim Sang-in dared humiliate him one more time, he would beat him until he could not get back up. After that, the two found a place to sit and prepared to talk about Baek Sang-yu. Gwak Dae-bo blamed himself, saying that he had not taught him the basic courtesy of being a decent person and had only taught him how to sculpt his body. Kim Sang-in followed the lead and began probing, wanting to get a clearer picture of Baek Sang-yu's past from him. The moment Kim Sang-in mentioned illegal drugs, Gwak Dae-bo's face darkened instantly. Having spent many years in the fitness world, Gwak Dae-bo flatly declared that there was not a single sign of drug use on Baek Sang-yu. That could only mean Gwak Dae-bo's judgment was unreliable too. Baek Sang-yu's symptoms were already obvious. But Kim Sang-in did not press the issue. He smoothly accepted his denial and stopped pursuing it. As Kim Sang-in was about to leave, Gwak Dae-bo called out to him, wanting to ask one question. With a build this solid, how exactly did you train it? Kim Sang-in said he had never trained specifically for it. After working for a long time, he had naturally become like this. Gwak Dae-bo had done this for too many years. He could tell at once that Kim Sang-in was not telling the truth. This teacher must have been a very formidable athlete in the past. A chill ran down Gwak Dae-bo's back. This time, he had truly run into trouble. Meanwhile, Baek Sang-yu walked down the street, and what had just happened had ruined his training state for the whole day. He could not figure out how Kim Sang-in had exposed his steroid secret, and he even suspected that Kim Sang-in himself used banned drugs. He felt as if his head were about to explode, as anxiety and panic slowly drove him mad. This teacher can't get hold of any evidence on me. File information was revealed. Baek Sang-yu had once been reported for violence against a female teacher. The details of the case were vague, and there was no complete evidence, so for the time being he could not be fully convicted. Kim Sang-in could of course destroy Baek Sang-yu's life with ease, but he would not act so rashly. He wanted to think carefully about how to collect every old debt back with interest. And then there was the gym owner, an experienced veteran in the field, yet desperately trying to wash away Baek Sang-yu's drug use. This man was not clean either, which meant the circle behind these drugs was not small. In a remote corner of the campus, Baek Sang-yu called over two students and opened his backpack to show them what was inside. One of them asked curiously, what could it be that made him act so mysteriously? Baek Sang-yu said proudly, today he would exceptionally share this shortcut to bodybuilding with them. He revealed his trump card. The bag was stuffed with banned steroids that could make a physique explode in size. The students watching were immediately frightened. Not only were these things illegal, they could kill someone. Baek Sang-yu wore a look of utter disdain, as if it did not matter at all whether his body would be ruined. He proudly showed off that he had picked only the strongest acting ones, and said he could even teach them how to stack them at a low price. Trust me, once you start shooting these, you can turn into terrifying muscle monsters. Suddenly, a chill ran down Baek Sang-yu's back, and he had a very bad feeling. Selling drugs at school? You've got some nerve. Come with me. I need to teach you a proper lesson. Kim Sang-in's tone was calm, but left no room for argument. He also ordered the two students to return to class at once. Keep your mouth shut, and this time I won't pursue it. Terrified, the two immediately distanced themselves, turned, and ran, leaving Baek Sang-yu alone to face the reckoning. Kim Sang-in took Baek Sang-yu into the counseling room, and Baek Sang-yu was still desperately trying to argue his way out. He flatly denied selling anything, insisting that the banned drugs in the bag were only for his own use. He admitted only that he had shown them to classmates, and firmly denied any transaction of any kind. Kim Sang-in cut straight to the point. Didn't you say last time that you didn't use drugs, and now you still want to lie to me? Drop the act and tell me directly, where did the drugs come from? Baek Sang-yu arrogantly provoked him, directly pulling out his bank transaction records to prove his innocence, insisting that he had no unexplained expenses. Relying on the fact that he was a minor, he was completely unafraid, even arrogantly saying that a teacher had no right to investigate this kind of thing. He had it all planned out very clearly in his head. Deny everything first, stall for time, then think of a way to turn things around. Kim Sang-in calmly told him that he did not care in the slightest whether Baek Sang-yu was a drug user or a dealer. Baek Sang-yu froze on the spot. He had completely guessed the wrong issue. Kim Sang-in pulled out a stack of photos and threw them directly in front of him. Every single one was evidence of him bullying Kim Ian. Baek Sang-yu's face instantly turned deathly pale. How could Kim Sang-in possibly have those? Those photos had clearly been locked in a locker room cabinet. So how had they ended up in Kim Sang-in's hands? Kim Sang-in had already traced the chain clearly. The gym owner was the hand hidden behind the scenes. The scene cut to the gym, where Gokdaebo looked up in surprise. Now it's your turn. Gokdaebo did not understand. Why had Kim Sang-in suddenly come looking for him? Kim Sang-in got straight to the point. All of Baeksang-yu's banned drugs came out of this gym. Gokdaebo was the source, and Baeksang-yu was responsible for distributing them outward. You worked together very skillfully. Gokdaebo instantly changed expression and flew into a rage, sharply demanding to know what gave Kim Sang-in the right to slander him as a drug dealer. Kim Sang-in publicly laid out his background point by point, a former member of the Korea Bodybuilding Association, now sunk deep into the gray underground chain. Once assaulted a pregnant woman in a parking lot, carrying a serious history of violent crime. Then he brought up an old court case too. Back then, he had only received a reduced sentence by claiming that drugs had affected his mental state. Kim Sang-in calmly reasoned that he still had not quit to this day and was still sinking deeper and deeper into drugs. Those scandals had already buried his bodybuilding career completely. His bright future had been ruined by his own hands. After retiring, he had taken over a store in a prime location at a high price, but the business could not sustain normal profits at all. He was no good at fitness and no good at business either, so he could only rely on selling banned drugs to pay the rent. Humiliated into rage, Gokdaebo raised his hand to make a move on Kim Sang-in. Looks like both of us have quite the temper. Kim Sang-in looked coldly at Gokdaebo lying on the floor and said there was still one thing he absolutely had to clarify. As long as Gokdaebo answered honestly, he would help keep the drug dealing matter suppressed. What he wanted to ask about was the inside story of Baeksang-yu assaulting the previous homeroom teacher. Gokdaebo immediately panicked and started playing dumb, saying he knew nothing. He lied that Baeksang-yu had only beaten up a gym member and that he had already settled it privately. Kim Sang-in continued to pressure him, forcing him to spit out the truth and not think he could muddle through with lies. Gokdaebo hurriedly said every word he was saying was true, and even said that he had kept the settlement agreement from back then. He admitted that he really had met that former female homeroom teacher, Kim Ian. He had also personally seen Baeksang-yu privately teaching her fitness hand in hand, and that the two had been close in an abnormal way. Baeksang-yu had been obsessively infatuated with her to the point of madness, even staring blankly at her photos during training. Gokdaebo confessed that those secretly taken photos had always been locked in a storage cabinet, and that he was willing to open the locker in exchange for his own safety. Back in the interrogation room, Kim Sang-in held up the photos and questioned Baeksang-yu. These were the private photos you secretly took. Baeksang-yu mentally collapsed. He could not understand how Kim Sang-in had opened his locked cabinet. He still stubbornly refused to admit it, claiming the photos had been picked up in the classroom and were not secretly taken, and that he had done nothing wrong. She's dead anyway, so what's the point of investigating anymore? Just let it go. She was a good teacher, I was a good student, and we always got along well. What's there to be suspicious about? Besides, class is about to start, so I should be going too. Did I say you could leave? Too many steroid injections can cause heart failure, and I'm very worried about you. As your homeroom teacher, I need to take you to the hospital for a checkup. Then if they find a problem, you can take a semester off. Kim Sang-in asked him, what do you think of that arrangement? The next second, a punch came down, and Baeksang-yu was knocked unconscious on the spot. When he woke up again, he found himself strapped to a chair, with no idea why he had been tied up. Kim Sang-in stepped out of the shadows, his voice so calm it was terrifying. I will teach you restraint. He took out a syringe, and Baeksang-yu struggled in terror, having no idea what he was about to do. Kim Sang-in said, as long as you cooperate obediently, the debt on you can be reduced little by little. Everything happening today is the result you stubbornly chose for yourself. A chill spread through Baeksang-yu's whole body. He finally saw clearly that it was female hormone that could alter physical traits. I'm very curious what kind of reaction you'll have after this injection. Student Baeksang-yu talk. If you still refuse, I'll inject you with female hormone. Baeksang-yu absolutely did not want to become like that. At last he relented and told the teacher to put the syringe down. Whatever it was, they could talk it over. Kim Sang impressed him coldly. You'd better not lie. Baeksang-yu began to recall the past and promised that every word he said was the truth. When Kim Yoon first arrived, Baeksang-yu did not take her seriously at all. He only thought she was pretty, but in the end, he did not really care. Nothing at school mattered. Baeksang-yu's top priority was always his training plan. During that period, he and Kim Yin had almost no contact. She was busy getting to know the students, and he was busy sleeping and recovering. The first real conversation between him and Kim Yin began with a remark of surprise from someone nearby. The turning point in everything began on the day Kim Yin lowered her head over stealing Hong Ariam's bag. Wait a second, are you sure that before this happened, you knew absolutely nothing about it? Baeksang-yu instinctively defended himself. He had no interest in associating with the kind of person who live-streamed every day and showed off all the time. Fine, then keep going. At lunch break, he often went to the pull-up bar to train, enjoying only the pleasure of his lats engaging. That day was the same. Baek Sang-yu was doing pull-ups alone. Suddenly, a cry of surprise sounded by his ear, and his movement paused. Baek Sang-yu turned around and saw that it was his homeroom teacher, Kim Ian. She said she had always wanted to find a chance to talk to him. Baek Sang-yu thought she was going to explain the incident where she was framed, but she did not mention it at all. Kim Ian asked him, "What do you want to do in the future? What is your dream?" "I'm your homeroom teacher, and I want to understand your plans." It was the first time anyone had asked him with that kind of serious, almost blindingly earnest look. "What do you want to become?" Baek Sang-yu felt a little embarrassed and spoke of his dream, to become a natural bodybuilder. That's what a real man is, and it's cool. Kim Ian's eyes lit up, and she praised him sincerely. Praised by her until he was practically floating. Baek Sang-yu secretly felt delighted. And just like that, back and forth, the distance between them slowly narrowed. "I don't want to hear any of this. Tell me, did you ever lay a hand on Kim Ian?" Baek Sang-yu took a deep breath, and in the end admitted it. "Then that makes it simple." He hurriedly explained, "I had a reason for hitting her." "Then go ahead and tell me. What reason could you possibly have had? I'd quite like to hear it." That day after school, he had forgotten to take something and ran back to the empty classroom. Holding the syringe, he still could not resist and wanted to inject himself. The classroom door was suddenly pushed open, and homeroom teacher Kim Ian was standing in the doorway. Her face was full of shock. Baek Sang-yu froze completely, and the syringe in his hand nearly fell. Disappointment in her voice, Kim Ian stared at him and asked, "Didn't you say you wanted to be a natural bodybuilder?" That sentence was like a knife, cutting open every bit of his disguise. He wanted to explain, but the syringe was right there in his hand, and all his words became powerless. Kim Ian said, "This isn't being manly. This is a weak person running away." The words "weak person" exploded in his head like thunder. Before his eyes flashed the image of his own skinny, bony self in the mirror. He absolutely did not want to go back to looking like that. Baek Sang-yu was completely ignited, and the agitation inside him could no longer be suppressed. At that very moment, he threw a punch. But he regretted it immediately, dropped to his knees, and begged her to forgive him, while Kim Ian even smiled and said it was fine. "So what you're saying is that you had nothing at all to do with Kim Ian's death?" "Of course not." He stubbornly insisted it was that girl named Hong Arim who did it. "Didn't you already deal with her? Why are you still looking for me?" "So you also know about Hong Arim? That's strange. Why would you think that I had already dealt with Hong Arim? Are you trying to make me understand this? Kim Ian was framed as a thief, and then all the blame was pushed onto Hong Arim, right? But Hong Arim has already told me all your ugly secrets. You think what happened between you and Kim Ian was just a small clash? You think you can muddle through by telling a few lies? I already said it. Don't lie. You still don't understand where you're standing right now." Baek Sang-yu started screaming. He had not expected Kim Sang-in really to inject the hormone. I'll talk. Please don't do this." Kim Sang-in had already run out of patience with him. "Then let's bring in a neutral person. I think that person will know more." Baek Sang-yu had never expected that the person Kim Sang-in summoned would be him. Class President Eome Jun arrived as agreed. Kim Sang-in asked the class president what he thought, and the class president said, "Baek Sang-yu caused Kim Ian's death. Up to this point, what you two have said is a mixture of truth and lies, and I can't tell them apart. So I brought you here to make the judgment. Based on what you've seen and heard, tell me what is true and what is false." Before this, I already asked, was Kim Ian's death related to Baek Sang-yu? Eome Jun looked utterly confused and could not understand what Kim Sang-in was talking about at all. "Did you forget? You said this yourself. You said you would do everything you could to cooperate with me in finding the killer. Now that I really want to uncover the truth, the only way is to do it my way. Help me find the killer. How about it?" Baek Sang-yu clung to him like a lifeline. "Why are you here too? Don't just stand there. Untie me, and call the police. Why are you standing there like a block of wood? What are you doing? Kim Sang-in is insane. He's going to inject me with female hormones. Call the police now. Did you hear me or not?" Right now, Baek Sang-yu was indeed one of Kim Sang-in's main targets, but there were still unresolved doubts. He had been able to distribute drugs at school without ever being exposed, and on top of that there was his connection to the gym owner. He had been dealing for at least a year, yet had not been caught even once. Even more absurdly, he was not like Hong Arim. Among the students, there were not even rumors about him. The PE teacher had said our class rarely had incidents, and there was a reason for that. Every time a conflict was about to break out, Eome Jun would appear nearby and silently suppress it. He managed the students in the class more effectively than the teachers and homeroom teacher, so had he been covering for Baek Sang-yu all along? At the hospital, a subordinate had said that every investigative agency had refused to look into his background. That only happened when the target was extremely dangerous, and Eome Jun was that untraceable student. Now, If Eom Jun also refused to tell the truth, then he was very likely an accomplice too. Eom Jun patted Baek Sang-yu on the shoulder and said calmly, "He really did tell a lot of lies. Are you trying to get me killed, Eom Jun? Take your hand off me. Then let me tell the truth." Baek Sang-yu had been lying from the very beginning. He noticed Kim Yoon on the first day. He had even brazenly said that he wanted Kim Yin to be his girlfriend. Kim Yin, embarrassed and helpless, could only gently draw a line and try to avoid the harassment. But not only did he not restrain himself, he became more and more excessive, pestering her every time with suggestive remarks. He followed Kim Yin and shamelessly asked her out. Kim Yin finally stopped, called his name for the first time, and her tone was cold as ice. A flash of delight crossed his eyes, and he actually thought the teacher had changed her mind. Thinking he had seen through the teacher's preferences, he even maliciously guessed behind her back that she liked the more manly type. "You're really cute. Don't play this kind of prank on your teacher, okay?" He froze. He had actually been called cute by a beautiful teacher. This hallway conversation had long since been overheard by passing students. Homeroom watched Baek Sang-yu leave in satisfaction. "You bastard. Last year you said you only liked me. Just wait, I'll expose you." And just like that, the rumor that Baek Sang-yu got dumped by teacher Kim exploded online, and the students laughed about him behind his back. Baek Sang-yu swallowed his anger while thinking, who the hell dared spread a rumor like that? From that day on, he completely changed his face and ignored the homeroom teacher as if she did not exist at all. Kim Yin watched his back, and there was fatigue in her eyes, but also the look of someone who had understood. Later, Kim Yin suddenly asked the class president, what exactly did Baek Sang-yu like? She said she had recently felt that Baek Sang-yu was deliberately avoiding her, and she wanted to find a way to talk to him. After thinking for a moment, Eom Jun said that Baek Sang-yu responded best to one thing: praise his muscles and talk about fitness. As long as Kim Yin took the initiative to ask about fitness, he would get so excited that he could not stop. The next day, Kim Yin really did take the initiative to go talk to Baek Sang-yu. Baek Sang-yu could feel her gentleness and attentiveness, and the distance between them gradually narrowed. Once, PE class ended early, and as they were walking back to the classroom, they suddenly heard arguing. One could tell from the cursing and the shouts that it was Baek Sang-yu. The moment they rushed into the classroom, the sight before them made Eom Jun freeze on the spot. The usually gentle teacher Kim was being struck hard in the stomach by Baek Sang-yu's fist. She let out a muffled groan, and her face darkened instantly. There was twisted pleasure on Baek Sang-yu's face as he shouted at Kim Yin not to laugh at him for being weak anymore. Trampling on the teacher's dignity, he madly bragged about his so-called masculinity. Eom Jun rushed forward and grabbed him, while Kim Yin refused anyone's help and left the classroom alone. Up to this point, that was everything Eom Jun knew. Kim Sang-in felt his temples throb. This guy just spat out so much truth in one breath. Is he trying to get me killed faster? Baek Sang-yu broke down and cursed, asking Eom Jun why he was not protecting him and why he was not saying anything in his favor. Was he trying to get him beaten to death? You can leave now. Kim Sang-in still suspected the class president, but all he had in hand was indirect evidence. He kicked Baek Sang-yu to the ground. Baek Sang-yu screamed and begged him to go easier. What, aren't gym guys supposed to be able to take a beating? Eom Jun interrupted Kim Sang-in. He said that some of what Baek Sang-yu had just said was indeed true. For example, teacher Kim Yin really had forgiven him. That's right, Kim Yin forgave me. She forgave you, but I didn't. So just sit there and take the beating. Since you like laying hands on people, then you need to learn the price. Baek Sang-yu pleaded, could he at least not hit his face? Kim Sang-in's fist came down, and blood splattered from the other side. But he was still not satisfied, and punched Baek Sang-yu in the face again. Baek Sang-yu felt his consciousness drifting, as if he were seeing heaven after death. Looks like I really won't survive tonight. His vision darkened, and his mind went blank. A buzzing filled his ears, and Deputy Class President Eom Jun was right there beside him. Though Baek Sang-yu could not see his face clearly, he was still fantasizing that Eom Jun would definitely save him. A few nights earlier, Eom Jun had called Baek Sang-yu out. City neon lights spread below them like shattered diamonds, and Baek Sang-yu asked why he had called him there. I have a feeling, Eom Jun said, that you will become Kim Sang-in's next target. I don't know what happened to Hong Ariam now, but she must have been interrogated. She saw your violence with her own eyes, so she will definitely point the blame toward you. You need to be prepared now. Don't let Kim Sang-in catch you. Baek Sang-yu laughed disdainfully, but you really are good at calculating. Maybe your concern is right. If you weren't so meticulous, you wouldn't have made that much money. I think you might be the richest student in all of Korea. Eom Jun patted Baek Sang-yu on the shoulder and told him that no matter what, he must not tell Kim Sang-yun the truth. The moment you tell the truth, the two of us are finished. If something really happens, I'll step in and help you. Baek Sang-yu laughed and brushed his hand away, saying what trouble could possibly happen to him. He even swore confidently, he absolutely would not tell the truth. Only when the fist came down did he understand. Promises were worthless in the face of violence. Now he wanted to say everything, but all that came from his throat was the gurgling of blood foam. Please save me, Eome Jun. I really can't hold on anymore. But Eome Jun only smiled to himself at the side. From beginning to end, he had never intended to step in. If Kim Sang-in had not called him here, he would not even have had the chance to watch this torture. Kim Sang-in looked toward Eome Jun. He actually made no move at all and did not protect his companion in the slightest. A normal teenager, in a situation like this, would either run away or call the police. But Eome Jun is just watching the show. Does he really think I've already cleared him of suspicion? Eome Jun knew Kim Sang-in would not rely on violence alone to solve things, but now Kim Sang-in was deliberately showing it to him. He understood, this was a test, and he had to make the kind of reaction a normal student would have. Kim Sang-in could tell that this class president was not simple, wanting to run but not running. Was he acting for my benefit? It did not matter. He had his own method, and there was no need to keep beating him for now. Once Baek Sang-yu woke up, one more round of questioning would reveal whether Eome Jun had a problem. Eome Jun was still calculating in his mind. Kim Sang-in had not given up his suspicions, but neither had he interrogated him on the spot. The risk now was that Baek Sang-yu would eventually crack and leak something sooner or later. It was only a matter of time. So in the end, I still can't escape it? Kim Sang-in told the class president, "You can go now. You staying here will not help with anything. When I need you, I'll call again." Eome Jun forced himself to stay calm and asked the homeroom teacher in return, "Aren't you afraid I'll go out and call the police? If you were really that righteous, then on the day Kim Ian jumped, you should have called the hospital. You should even have shed a few tears." "No, I didn't expect it to turn out like this either." "Then what do you plan to do with Baek Sang-yu?" "Wait and see. He may still spit out some truth. If he accidentally lets something slip and gives up another criminal, that would be best. Of course, if he still wants to cover the truth with lies, I'll make him wish he were dead. I'll make him regret ever being born into this world." Eome Jun was so pressured he could barely breathe, and turned to leave. Kim Sang-in told him to come to class as usual tomorrow and keep quiet. "Okay, but teacher, I still have many questions I want to ask you. When the time comes, you'll understand. Don't ask anymore. Leave now." "You still want to ask him questions? I haven't dealt with your problem yet. Eome Jun is definitely involved, but whether he is one of the masterminds, I will find out." "What are you people doing?" "I came here to catch that bastard Baek Sang-yu." "What happened here?" A burly blonde man suddenly barged in and stared at them as he asked, "Was this Eome Jun's doing?" Pointing at Baek Sang-yu on the ground, he said, "With him beaten up like this, how am I supposed to collect the debt from him?" Eome Jun nervously asked who he was. "I'm the one asking questions, and you're asking me instead? Want to get beaten?" Kim Sang-in told the blonde man to stop and asked who had sent him to collect the debt. The blonde man laughed and said he had found the wrong person. Now he was treating Kim Sang-in as the opponent. The blonde man said he had no boss, only a business partnership. "You beat him up this badly, and I'm very unhappy about it. Even I wouldn't have hit him this hard. Now I'm taking him away. Baek Sang-yu doesn't owe a small amount." Kim Sang-in looked at him and asked, "Do you know that debts also have priorities? The higher priority one gets handled first. And I am the creditor with the higher priority.